Hello and welcome to the Con Couple. I'm Richard,
I'm Caroline.
and we go to a frankly terrifying number of cons every year.
I would say we go to too few. We didn't mess up the intro this time.
I was going to say, we actually made it through the entire intro without any jokes. I'm pleasantly surprised.
So welcome to hopefully our normal listeners, and also Justin from Tekko, if you actually are listening to this, you're welcome.
I apologize for however long this episode is. Usual disclaimer before we begin, we do record this podcast in our car on the drive home. We are using hands-free lapel mics, staying in tune with all laws and etc. This guy merge. And I will not be pushing any buttons other than the buttons involved in operating the car.
You push my buttons.
This is true.
You walked into that one.
Yeah, I kind of did. It's fine. I'm mostly here to be your setup man.
You're also a knockdown sometimes, and you're a knockout in terms of looks.
Okay, let's move on before everybody immediately turns off because of the mushy stuff.
So if you haven't guessed by the fact that I mentioned it, this con is Tekko this week.
Yep.
And also, if you've read quite literally the description of the con, which I assume you have if you clicked on this.
Well, one would assume you read the title of the episode, but who knows? Maybe you've just got some kind of function that randomly assigns you a podcast.
Or you're a bot.
Yeah, you could be a bot. Our voices are definitely getting scraped for AI.
Yeah, everyone's voices are getting scraped for AI.
Yeah, it's real annoying.
So Tekko is we know technically. So for reference, we did just finish up a panel that's kind of a talkback panel that Tekko does, which I love because it's a look behind the scenes and as people who review cons, that's super helpful.
Yep.
So we will be referencing that a lot out of chronological order, which is not how we normally review it, but there's just no way to talk about stuff without referencing that panel because it lets us know a lot of the decisions the con made and why. So we know that Tekko, we didn't get an exact number, but about 12,000 attendees this year, which is, I think, up about 1,000 from last year, maybe 500, which again is a good, solid growth for a con of that size.
Yep.
In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, you're actually admitting it's in Pennsylvania, right?
I love to mess with him about what state stuff's in.
Again, for anybody not familiar, yes, I am actually British, but this voice is not a bit.
The best part is, one of these days you're going to get a state wrong and I'm going to correct you and you're not going to believe me.
Yeah, so you've spent the last two cons we've been to in Pennsylvania, you have been trying to convince me it's a different state, but you're also really inconsistent about which state you claim it is.
Oh, it's funnier that way.
Yep.
So Tekko was always formerly known as Tekko Shokan, now just Tekko. And yes, I am pulling up the Wikipedia page just because it's useful. It has been around since 2003.
Sounds about right.
Yep. I assume it started a lot smaller. Organized by Rebecca Roche. Yeah, this is on the Wikipedia page. We met multiple times.
Multiple times this weekend. Like, she was just there and having a great time. I get the impression she enjoys the fact she's not running it anymore, so she can just enjoy it.
And it moved to the David Lawrence Convention Center, which is the convention center that's in Pittsburgh, or the biggest one, in 2011.
And for anybody who listens to multiple episodes of this show, hi, both of you. This is the same convention center that Anthrocon was in 2 weeks ago.
Yes, so we'll spend a little bit less time describing it this week. I'm going to guess count just to see. Their website, or their Wikipedia page, actually does have attendance counts, because as mentioned by that talkback panel, they are fairly transparent in terms of a con. So yeah, I think that they've recently, so in 2019, their highest attendance to date was around 11,000 people. I think they beat that for the first time this year, based on what I was overhearing. We're not an official source for this, because we didn't stay to get the exact number, because they were being really cheeky with the exact number. I'm sure they have it.
Yep.
And that's great. They're continuing to grow. They're in a space that's good for them, and they're a really interesting convention.
They are. So yeah, this isn't the first time we've done Tekko. This is the first time we've done all 4 days.
Yes.
About 2 years ago, we did just Saturday.
It was because I had an academic conference on Sunday that I had to go to that was in D.C.
Yep.
So we did one day. We drove back to Ohio. Then I drove to D.C. the next day.
Yep. And our dog was not happy about that decision on your part.
No. We liked it a lot then. We didn't do it last year because for whatever reason, that weekend was just packed. Animate, Dokido, and Tekko were all on the same weekend that weekend. Dokido's in Michigan. Animate we reviewed earlier this year. Animate's schedule shifts, and I do think if Animate and Tekko are opposite each other next year, we're probably going to Tekko over Animate, unless for whatever reason we can't get off work.
Yeah, because again, Animate is fine as a con, but the vibes just aren't anywhere near as nice as Tekko's.
Yeah.
The main advantage it has is it's an hour closer to us.
But it's bigger, or it's not big. I actually don't know what's bigger in terms of attendance. I would say Tekko's probably bigger.
Tekko's bigger.
Yeah, at this point. GalaxyCon is probably bigger than Tekko, who's the same brand as Animate.
Yeah.
Also, throughout this recording, you might hear us reference the Sengawa project. That's a smaller, much smaller, less than 500 attendees
Less
con.
than 500, is it?
Yeah, it's less than 500. We literally went to a panel that said the exact number. I think it was around 300.
Oh, yeah.
They want to be around 500 attendees to break even with their stuff. But
That's fair.
Sengawa Project is by the same people who do Tekko. It's a winter convention that's much smaller and local and does like Japanese alcohol tasting. But also offers a ticket if you're like me and alcohol breaks your body, where you don't have to pay for the alcohol, which is great.
Yep. But again, that one is exclusively 18 plus. This con is very family friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, yes, rubbing a lotus at me. Have fun with that.
Be nice. I like how you got more British there.
Yes, I was criticizing somebody for being mildly rude. Of course, I got more British.
So Tekko is an anime convention, non-profit organization, as far as I can tell, run by a group of friends who clearly all know each other and seem to get along well, which is great.
Yeah, like you can see the love and the camaraderie and all of that stuff in like almost everything they do. It's kind of weird.
It is a bigger con, which does mean that we will be a little bit more critical, but we can tell, especially since they're a fairly transparent organization.
Yeah.
Although one with some communication problems.
They're aware that they have some communication problems, and they do seem to be trying to work on it.
Yes.
But
they're also transparent in terms of their numbers and what they do and are very encouraging. So keep that in mind as we're going through the reviews. You know, we're harshest with corporate cons, not because we think corporate cons are bad. They definitely have their place.
It's just people are getting paid.
People are getting paid.
Cons.
We expect it to be really good.
Yeah. At any kind of volunteer level, people aren't getting paid. They're volunteering their time freely. They don't have like all year to plan and prep and do all of that kind of stuff. Mistakes are going to happen.
Yeah. But if it's more people, you do have to commit to being responsible for more people. So there's kind of a balance that is there.
Exactly.
And what is interesting, I think, particularly about this con is that it is more people, but it's not. A lot of bigger cons tend to be very celebrity focused, particularly these days. This con really isn't.
Nope.
They did have some big name celebrities from Spy Family there this time. I think a couple other people.
Yep.
We're not celebrity focused people, so we don't pay a lot of attention to that.
Nope, we are panel people.
But that didn't seem to be the main draw for most people.
I don't know if it's not that it wasn't the main draw for most people, or if it's just we spent a lot of time doing panel stuff, and so we kept seeing the other people who also really love panel stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think might be a factor. Mm-hmm. But yes. It's very much been a very, very good vibes con. Like
it is.
Basically everybody we met and talked to was having a good time. They were chatting, they were friendly. Like we got a lot of free stuff at this con just from people handing us small
We
presents.
got so many free con swag.
We got some rocks.
Yeah, somebody just gave us rocks.
That was nice.
Yeah.
It's confusing, but it was nice.
Yeah. So also just full disclosure, this weekend was a weekend where I don't think either of us were really at our best.
No, I think that's fair to say. We've got a couple of stressful life events going on at the moment.
We're trying to buy a house. I think that explains it to anyone who's ever attempted to buy one.
Yeah, that's the big one. There's also another one that's also stressful.
Yeah.
And it's just mentally, I don't think either of us were in the perfect headspace this weekend.
No, and again, we're not fighting and our marriage isn't in trouble or anything like that. But it is something for which, after you've been married a couple of years, which we're approaching to now, you have to make those next big life steps together, and you've got to figure out what you want and what the other person wants.
Yeah.
And the problem is, when you don't even know what you want, trying to figure out what the other person also wants when they don't know just leads to, I think, some communication dynamic stuff that is just kind of it's emotionally intense to sort through, even though no one's really doing anything wrong. And I think we were just kind of dealing with a little bit of that in the background this weekend.
We were. Which again, like, during one panel you actively joked that, like, I'm sufficiently sensitive that I once cried when we bought a used couch because I felt bad for the couch.
Yep.
That's a true story. That happened. I blame you for naming it. But it did mean that, like, you know, multiple times this weekend you had to basically warn me to stop crying because I was ruining my makeup.
Mm-hmm. And some of that wasn't even stuff that was related to us. There were just a lot of really heartfelt moments at this con.
We saw two people get engaged at this
That
con.
was great.
Like, we didn't talk to them or anything. We just kind of saw it happening. We're like, oh, that's really sweet.
And then you started crying.
Yeah. I wasn't wearing makeup that day. It was fine.
So just keep that in mind for a background of this review. None of that's the con's fault at all. And we still had, I think, a pretty great time.
We
even
did.
Though we're dealing with some kind of background stuff.
Yeah. It mostly just meant that, like, minor annoyances that would normally not really bother us at all kind of hit us a little harder than they normally would.
Yeah.
Like, we still managed to push through. We still had a great time. It was just...
Which I think is a testament to this con.
Oh, yeah. Like, at a worse run con, at a con that didn't have those, like, amazing vibes, it would have been a lot harder to recover from those minor annoyances.
Yeah. And it was also just worse in the morning because personality stuff, whatever. So I was like, I'm in costumes, which is... It's a lot less vulnerable for me now to be in a costume than it was when I started cosplaying, but it's still, like, any cosplayer knows it's a little bit of a vulnerable experience, and when your emotions are already high, it's a little bit higher. That said, everyone here, great, fantastic, and supportive in terms of costumes, so...
So, do we want to do any more broad overview stuff, or do we want to roll right into kind of chronological and what we did?
Okay, do you want to describe the convention space at all, or do you just want people to watch the...
It's probably worth talking about it a little bit. So the David Lawrence Convention Center is a pretty decent-sized convention center. It's not our favorite convention center.
You all know what our favorite convention center is.
Yep. But it is a good, solid space. It's about the right size for this kind of con.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of rooms, and yeah, Tekko's using all of them.
Yep.
Basically, to the point where they also had sort of a stage set up in one of the halls. You know, they had like photo shoot display things that you could kind of pose in and take cool pictures near the tops of some of the escalators.
And they had panels in pretty much all the panel rooms.
Yeah, like they were using all the space, and for the most part, they were using it well.
Yes.
Like, there weren't any major bottlenecks, which, given the one thing I really don't like about the design of the convention center, I should say, is in order to get to where most of the panel room space is, which is on the third level, you have to go up to the third level, fine. Then you have to cross over, effectively, a sky bridge over the vendors hall. And there isn't a way, if you're in the vendors hall, to just go over to that side and go up a level.
Yeah. Which is, I think, a part of criticism. Like, they didn't have one of the doors open. They explained they just didn't have the staffing for it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also just, I think, a criticism of the convention center. It's just like, it's not getting from one half of it to the other half of it is a bit difficult.
It's
just
a
because
little bit of a pain.
Because they have that, like, elevated bottom level, it means that the only way to get across the tops are these, like, sky bridges across.
Which, it's very stylish.
It's very fun.
Like, this is probably the prettiest convention center we've been to.
But it does mean that, like, they're sacrificing, like, the prettiness of being able to look out at the convention center and Pittsburgh for other stuff. I will say, the convention center, whoever built this thing, I don't think David Lawrence built it. I assume that's just the name of some dude who funded it. But if David Lawrence did build it...
The architect's name never gets put on the building.
That's fine. I'm too lazy to look it up right now. I'm sure it exists. They clearly did love Pittsburgh as a city, because the Pittsburgh David Lawrence Convention Center, damn it, clearly is a love letter to the city of Pittsburgh. Like, you can see Pittsburgh from all around it. It's very clearly meant to, like, show you parts of it as you're walking through, and it is fun to see. Because you do feel like you're in the middle of a city, just in this kind of elaborate building, which I haven't really gotten in any other convention centers, because the sightlines are so good. And it is a fantastic place if you want some great photos for cosplay.
Absolutely, especially with its kind of, like, rooftop terrace garden thing.
Yeah, that said, parking is extremely limited. It has one main parking garage. I'm told most other people park in the Greyhound lot that's nearby.
Yep.
We normally park in the parking garage because it's just on site. I don't think the price difference is that much. It's $15 a day, which these days honestly seems extremely cheap. They're probably going to up it next year.
Which again, you know, $15 a day, and this one was a full 4-day con.
Yes.
You know, that does come to $60. You know, it does start to rack up. And the other thing is, if you stay for more than 15 hours, they slap an extra $15 on top of that.
Which we came close to doing on Saturday.
We did. We didn't actually quite hit that, but we did come close.
Yeah. Because you do have to get there early because it's a small garage. Like, it does fill up by, I think, about 10, 11 a.m. So you do have to get there early to get a spot. So.
Yeah. And again, that probably does depend on the convention itself, you know, how busy it's going to be. Honestly, the only time we have been turned away at that parking garage once, but that was for a relatively small event at the convention center, and I think they just had like 4 other things going on at the same time.
Yeah, and we got there like midday, which would have been fine for this. I don't think the event opened until midday, but like that was by far the smallest event that was happening there. There were like 6 or 7 other things that were also happening, which is typical with convention centers. It just is weird that they only have that one pretty small parking lot for that entire building. Yeah. To be fair, there's other places you can park off-site that I'm sure are fine. But.
Yeah, like there's a place across the road that's, you know, not bad, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's certainly possible to get parking within a reasonable walking distance. It's just we really kind of need the on-site parking because we don't want to be walking you through the streets of Pittsburgh in a ball gown if we can avoid it. You know, and dropping you off at the convention center while I go and find parking is something we can do, but it's not optimal.
And it's still something for which I'm fine being alone most of the time. And like, particularly if it's a con where I know people, like a Tekko, like at this point, I would feel fine with you doing that. But at a new convention, when you're first getting there, it's a little bit more difficult if you're a person with a disability to kind of be on your own. Because as this person with a disability, sometimes you need certain things, and sometimes people there can't understand that and yell at you. Yep. And by that, I don't mean the people who are working for Tekko.
Nope. Like, we did not have a bad experience in that in any way at this con. It's just, you've had that experience in the past, and it makes you uncomfortable asking for additional accommodation.
Well, it's also just to use an example of this, one time we had to take our service dog, who is trained, Emma, into a grocery store, and which we don't typically do because I don't need her in a grocery store, but we just had to be somewhere else where I did need her, and we were going by a grocery store.
Yep.
And
we didn't want to leave her in the car.
Yeah, and you held her most of the time while we were in there, and then I handed her to you because I was going to go back out to the car with her so she didn't have to wait in line while you were paying because like bags and moving stuff around. Yep. And like I literally had her for 5 seconds and somebody approached me and asked if she was a registered service dog when you had her for like 20 minutes and no one did.
Yeah. And again, that does feel very much like I am a 6'6" dude. I'm not particularly, I don't try to be particularly physically imposing, but I am aware that I am very tall. And that does kind of spook some people. You know, whereas you are a
petite woman.
Yeah. You know, which does make you easier to approach and to confront. So again, we want to clarify, none of this happened at Tekko.
No.
Like the team there did a mostly good job, and the mostly part we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we were told there was one like security officer who was associated with the venue, not the con. We've talked about this before, how like the con has its own staff, and typically convention staff who aren't associated with the con will still be working. Yeah. Generally, most of the people who work convention centers are incredibly great.
Half of them just like love seeing the weirdness that comes through their convention center. Because again, like if you work at a big convention center like the Columbus Convention Center, like the David Lawrence Center, you're going to see furry cons, then 2 weeks later an anime con, and like I have no doubt that venue was being used for other stuff in the middle. It was probably professional conferences for God knows what. Like convention centers generally are pretty used, you know, for all sorts of bits and bobs. So you get to see all kinds of interesting things.
And generally, like convention staff are great. Apparently, there was one person who was just being kind of mean about not letting a person in through a certain access point that was associated with the David Lawrence Convention Center and not with Tekko. That said, that wasn't our experience. It was just something we heard about in one of the talkback panels. And you're going to get isolated individuals who are kind of on a power trip at pretty much any convention. You just kind of have to learn how to handle it. So I hope that person will learn from that experience and grow as a human being. What?
I love
You
it.
can tell I'm cursing them out in my head, but that doesn't matter.
That's fair. So yeah. So broadly speaking, we had a great time.
We did.
We start getting into the nitty gritty.
Yeah. So started about midday Thursday. There was, and Tekko does admit that they have a little bit of a problem with not putting as much information online as they should. One of the things they didn't put online until relatively late was when registration opened, which was 12, in theory.
In theory, the first panel was at 1.
Yes.
The schedule was at least online.
Yes.
The schedule uses Aventi, which we don't like. They've kind of acknowledged that Aventi is definitely not perfect. And again, Talkback panel was very informative on that front. They apparently used to use Guidebook. The reason they don't use that anymore is it's too danged expensive.
And Tekko did explain during their Talkback panel they had some financial problems after COVID. I've not been to any of their presentations where they explained exactly what these were. My guess is that they probably estimated they would get pre-COVID numbers first year back after COVID, and it's taken them until about now to really get to where they were, which I think is
not at all uncommon.
Yeah. And it's probably something for which they budgeted for more people one year, and that can tank you for a couple of years. But they said that they are close to no longer being in debt, and that's really good.
That's great.
But it does mean that one of the things that I think had to go was paper schedules, even though a paper schedule would be amazing.
Yeah.
It's just better for everyone. So.
Yeah, there was some talk about maybe letting you order one in advance or some other options.
But they are aware of this because the Talkback panel we went to mentioned this heavily. Most of the discussion was about getting back a paper schedule or just having a better schedule than Aventi.
Yeah. And again, Aventi works okay.
It's better than not having anything.
Yeah. And I will say this for them. Compared to PopCon Indie from a few weeks back, which also used Aventi, this one was better because all the panel rooms were tagged properly, as opposed to tagging things by category.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the way PopCon Indie used Aventi, you couldn't figure out what room something was in just by looking at the grid layout. Whereas here, you could. It was great.
And this one also didn't put events per hour that were just going on all day. It just had them at the top of the schedule. If there was Nerf fighting all day, which there was, they just had that once.
Yeah.
Which is a lot nicer.
Keeps things simple. So yeah, we're not massive fans of Aventi, but this was probably about the best it was going to be.
And they were pretty blunt about the fact that this is a cost-saving measure. Same with printed schedules.
Yeah.
I will say registration was probably our roughest experience we had in terms of con organizational stuff.
It was. So we got here at 11:40-ish, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, around 11:40 for 12 o'clock registration. We typically do not get to registration right when it opens because we know there's going to be a line. And if you've been listening to this podcast, you know that I'm disabled and I can't really stand in lines.
Mm-hmm.
So they said there was going to be an access line. There was, sort of. We'll talk about that in a second.
Talk about that.
But because panels were starting at 1 p.m. and we wanted to get the full 4 days of content, there wasn't really an option for us except to get there around when it opened to make sure we could go to the first panel.
Yeah.
So we got there. There was an access line outside at this point.
It wasn't labeled in any way. The only reason we knew it was there is that there were
people who looked visibly disabled in line, which is not a great way to find an access line.
No. So we just kind of got behind them and just checked, the ADA line and said yes. Right.
Yeah, everyone seemed nice and seemed excited to be there.
Mm-hmm.
We were let in first from the ADA line before anyone else. So this is the same setup that Anthrocon had, where the bottom kind of basement area is a registration-based area.
Yeah.
So we got in there. They put us in the premium badge holder line before the premium badge holders. And then the premium badge holders filed in behind us, as well as the people who were normal. And keep in mind, the outside, I think the premium badge holders and just regular badge holders were just combined into one line.
Yes, they were. Then it was basically, once you got into the building itself, there was just signage that said, okay, VIPs this way, general admission that way. Again, perfectly fine, perfectly simple. So everybody kind of traipsed through and got to the front of the section with the desk in front of us. And we were like, okay, cool. They've opened the doors at 12. Fine. Let's get registered. And then the line stayed still, and then the line continued to not move.
It was just creating a number of different problems in addition to just not being open on time. One was that the premium badge sponsors and like ADA lines were mixed. Keep in mind the ADA line was not labeled, so people outside with ADA issues who didn't see the ADA line and just got in the normal line wouldn't then be able to get into the ADA line inside because they were just mixed together.
Yep.
Because the premium badge holders filled in behind us. So if you were in the front of the ADA line like we were, you were fine, you were set, you were one of the first people who was checked in, at least if they had started on time. Whereas anyone later, like, was just stuck in a line with premium badge holders.
Yeah, which again is not a great setup.
Yeah. We're still a bit unclear because the talkback panel didn't really explain what caused this delay. And I get the sense from the fact that no one talked about this is probably relatively normal for them. Because no one seemed to be batting an eye at it. But for us, a 30-minute delay for somebody who can't stand in lines, a line where there's no seating and it's very crowded and I feel really overwhelmed, was not a great experience.
Yes.
And I was able to hold it together for, I think, about 15 minutes before I started feeling a lot of really bad body effects.
Yeah, like you were actively starting to get dizzy and a few other things. Like
and keep in mind the line also it had ropes or like barriers on either side of it, so I couldn't even get out of it and even like go somewhere else. Like I could if I like asked enough people, but like a lot of people would have had to move around for me to even do that.
Yeah, because once again, you were in a ball gown.
Yeah, we hadn't talked about costumes.
Yep.
What were we wearing that day?
The red dress.
Oh yes, I was wearing a red dress. I was trying to do Belle from the anime.
Which did get recognized by a couple of people.
Yeah.
We
bought a headpiece later, which I think helped.
Yeah.
And we're going to add, I think, some red flowers to it to make it a little bit more.
But again, we'll have to remember that one for future anime cons because I think that was a hit.
Yeah.
And I was basically just in cosplay handler mode.
You kind of had to be.
Yeah.
So we're still unclear on what caused the delay. There were people who were still, I think, putting together swag bags for the premium attendees. We're not sure if that's the only reason that was happening. Yeah. It was a bit confusing generally.
Yes, again, like an announcement or something wouldn't have gone amiss because there was a fair few people who were under the impression that registration opened at 12 and we were kind of steady. It was about 12:30.
It said 12 on the website. It said 12.
Now, 12 is when they actually opened the doors to the convention center and let us in.
Yes.
People didn't actually start being able to register and get their badge picked up until 12:30.
Yeah.
Which basically meant that we ended up standing around for half an hour.
Yeah. Which, again, if we had been communicated with that, because there were some just tables that were off to the side that I could have gone to had I known, and that would have been fine.
Yeah. You would have basically gone to one of those tables and I would have waited in the line. It wouldn't have been a great solution, but it would have been there. The one thing I will note is that they did mention that one of the staff positions that they're aiming to fill next year, they've offered it to somebody and they'll see if, I think it is going to be a disability coordinator of some sort.
Yeah, which I'm hoping will fix some of these issues because I don't think having premium lines and ADA lines in the same line is a good thing. Because for one problem, it also causes the fact that for things that don't have premium lines, there's no place for ADA people to stand because I think clearly through the whole weekend they were just combining the premium and ADA line, and that's just not. Premium and ADA just aren't the same thing. Sometimes you might need an ADA line where you don't need a premium line, or vice versa. The dealer's hall at this con, they talked a little bit about that, didn't have a premium line. That was an unpopular decision by some people. Mm-hmm. But the dealer's hall, even if you don't have a premium line, still needs an ADA line. It just does. ADA people who can't stand in a normal line need somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And this is not me criticizing the con. This is honestly par in course for a lot of cons. Most cons don't have great accessibility. This con is at least trying. They've at least thought about that in advance, so that's good.
Yes.
A little bit more thought should have gone into that.
And again, hopefully, whoever ends up being their ADA director, does kind of think through this stuff a little bit.
And I realize being an ADA director is also probably a pretty hard position, as I've talked a little bit about in this podcast before. Disabilities are extremely unique things. I only understand the world from my own disabled perspective, and my own disabled perspective is different, for instance, than someone who's blind. Someone who's blind might have had very different accessibility issues this weekend, and I can't intuit all of those.
Yeah.
So it's a hard position to fill, but I do think they're thinking about it, which is good.
Yeah.
And I also want to emphasize that us waiting is not the fault of anyone who is in registration and working registration.
No, again, if you work registration at a con like this, you're a saint.
Yes. It's just they were clearly backed up with something. I'm still not exactly clear what, and they should have either communicated that to attendees or just said we'll start at 12:30 or something like that.
Yeah, just because again, like part of your issues with that were like psychological of just not knowing, and having a bit more clear information would have helped. So yeah, so again, 12:30. Eventually, the line does start moving.
Yep.
They do a good job of directing people, and it was an efficient badge pickup once it started going.
Yeah, there was something that says is the most communication they have right now is the Tekko unofficial Facebook group, which I'm a part of, which probably was this podcast too. Sup, guys? They did say that they were doing ID checks at admissions. As far as I can tell, no one was ID checked at all, which is fine. I don't need to be ID checked. It's just a bit weird that people were saying you needed a government-issued ID to pick up your badge when no one seemed to care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where that came from or why it was stated.
Goodness knows, because yeah, this was just a
Standard QR code, get your badge, which is I prefer as a system generally.
That's a great system. Love that.
It's fast, it's quick, it's easy.
Yep. And as a result, we actually ended up being amongst, I think we were close to the first people up the escalator, or, well, we used the stairs because you can't use escalators in a ball gown. Or you can, but it's
not a smart idea.
And again, that convention center does at least have basically an up escalator, a down escalator, and a flight of stairs in between them, which is useful because that gives you the option.
We did see a new sign up, though.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. There was a sign up saying you're not allowed to fly drones around the convention center. That sign wasn't there 2 weeks ago. We want to know what the furries did.
Yeah, because that's clearly directed at something that happened at Anthrocon. So yeah, good job, guys. Thanks for allowing that. What did you do? I'm sure we'll actually, knowing that it's the furries, we're probably going to hear about it.
Yeah, we might actually hear the story at some point. Depends if Boozy holds to his 2-year rule about whether,
Maybe that's why the top screen, because when we got upstairs to the rooftop deck, the scroll thing, because they have an art installation on the rooftop where words come up and down, was broken. So maybe a drone flew into that 2 weeks ago, and they're still fixing that thing.
I mean, it was working by the end of the day.
And again, I want to emphasize this is a con issue, not a Tekko issue.
Yeah.
Like, this is just an art installation that the convention center itself has on the top where words scroll across the screen and you can read them. It's an interesting choice as an art installation. I don't really have any feelings about it generally.
Yep. Yeah, and it's kind of fun.
But it was broken when we got up there. They did fix it, but I am wondering if just a drone flew into it.
It's entirely possible. But either way, we just spotted that sign and it kind of amused us. So yeah, so I think we were close to the first people up and onto the convention space, other than obviously the people working for the con. And we normally, when we're in a new convention space, one of the things we'll do is just walk around the space, get a sense of it, etc., etc., etc. We were here 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we were here 2 weeks ago. We know exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, we'd already checked the online map to know where the various panel rooms were and all of that jazz.
And as crazy as the furries are, there's not much they can do to change a convention center, although I'm sure they've tried.
Probably. So we just basically at that point made a beeline for the panel room we wanted to be in.
Also, the rooms on Thursday, again, not a con, they were just really ridiculously cold.
Again, the convention center was prepped for the number of people they were going to get over the entire weekend, which meant they had the AC cranked up a bit high.
So yeah, people were actively shivering in that first panel room.
Again, it balanced out over the course of the weekend as there was more body heat in the building. But
I will say the David Lawrence Convention Center, this is just a general problem you're going to have at cons. You're never going to be the right temperature. But the David Lawrence Convention Center in general has a little bit of problem with temperature control just because it's all windows, so it's just impossible to keep it the right temperature.
Yeah, it's very pretty. But,
it is.
It does mean that you are going to be alternatively sweating and shivering.
Yeah, which happened a lot throughout the weekend. Happened at Anthrocon too. Not on the con, but just keep in mind that you should dress in layers if you're not a cosplay nut. So the first panel we went to was $10 anime pyramid.
Yep, it was pyramid.
It was a game show panel, pyramid, yes.
Yep. This game show panel did end up starting about 10 minutes late because the person running it was stuck in the reg line.
Yeah.
Which is not on them. They did basically say that somebody had kind of contacted them and was going to supposedly going to guide them through the line, and just I don't think they managed to find each other, so they ended up having to wait through it.
But the room was just open, and we did just get to go in, which is a nice thing I like about cons, is when they don't like make you jump through 10 hoops. And I will say, this kind of particular badge checks were light. You chose your badge to get into the convention center, and then you pretty much never had it checked again, which is awesome.
Yeah, prefer it that way.
It also means if you're in cosplay and you're like taking photos, you can just take off your badge.
Yeah, technically you're supposed to have it displayed at all times, and for the most part we did, other than when we took them off briefly to take photos and then put them back on. But you could have got away at this con with just kind of flashing it on the way in and then not having it on too much. You might have occasionally got asked by the staff, but I did not see that happen at any point.
Yeah. So we went to that. It was a host did his show up eventually.
Yep.
Not on the host, by the way. And it only started, I think, like
about 10 minutes late.
About 10 minutes late, and that was something that was a kind of lighter content panel. They only had I think about 4 pyramids you could grow up. I'm not going to explain the game Pyramid. If you know it, you know it.
Yeah.
It's basically just you list things from a category, and somebody tries to guess what the category is. We played. We had fun. Everyone got candy. It was a pretty simple game and a decent way to start the con, pretty light. It was I think a panel where the host didn't prepare a lot, but if you're in the first time slot on a Thursday at a con, you get a pass for me. That's not a time period where you need to be
completely sort of prepped and on the ball, because again, that's just a hard time slot. You're not going to have a good turnout, at least in part because most of the con hasn't even got there yet.
Yep. And I don't want to emphasize it wasn't a bad panel at all. It was perfectly fine.
Again, it was what it needed to be.
It was what it needed to be, which was an introduction to the con, and I think for a lot of people, just an introduction to each other, because we met a lot of people in that space we saw throughout the weekend.
Yep. Including the founder of Tekko.
Yes. Rebecca, who really wanted to play and got to play. We got to play opposite each other, which was a lot of fun, which is also a lot of fun with a smaller room. Pretty much everyone who wanted to play got a chance to.
Yes, which is always nice.
Yes.
And again, because Pyramids played in pairs, you and I know how to play off each other in the jokey kind of...
I got you to guess blue lock despite not knowing what it was by getting you to the word blue and getting you to the word lock.
Yes, you did. We play a lot of heads up. It's a similar skill set.
And I was still a little bit emotional just from the line stuff and just the other stuff we've been dealing with. Want to move on from that now?
Yep.
Okay. So, which I think made me a little bit more irritated with the next panel, which was an absolutely fine panel. There was just a little bit of miscommunication about how it worked, which is my pet's a 10 but.
Yes.
Which is an interesting concept and a lot of fun just to look at cute pets. You want to explain it?
So the base principle of this one was they took audience submissions beforehand. There was a Google form. You sent them a picture of your pet, and they had basically 2 things. My pet is a 10 because fill in reasons your pet is awesome, but fill in reasons why your pet is not in fact perfect.
Yeah.
And
so I'm going to read the description because I have it pulled up.
Certainly.
So my cat is a 10, but he cheats at Monopoly. We review submitted pics of your pets. In the submissions, owners either tell us why their pet is a 10 or what's wrong with them, and we supply the other half of your answer. So, for instance, you would say why your pet is good, and then, in theory, I think how the panel, at least from the description, implies to me it's going to work is the panelist or the room will decide, what's bad about your pet.
Yeah.
Or you say why your pet's bad, and then the room says why it's good. Yeah. I think, in part, because the form's a little bit confusing, and in part because I think the person who was supposed to host this wound up not, and somebody else did. It was a bit confusing whether or not you were supposed to fill in both why your pet was good and why they were bad, or just one or the other and have the room decide the other thing.
Yeah.
So it got a little bit confusing.
Yeah, so about half of the pets on the submission, which did include Emma.
Yep.
We submitted our favorite picture of Emma.
Yep.
Described her as, what was it? International
bone smuggler.
Criminal and bone smuggler.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then we followed the directions on the forum and thought that other people would talk about why she's bad or something like that for fun. Other people filled out both boxes because the thing allows you to. In fairness, it's hard to set a Google form to allow you with an either or option for that. Because the directions weren't clear. And then the panelist was also confused because the first ones had both and she wasn't aware that other people wanted to fill in.
Yes.
So it was a little bit confusing, but it was still fun because it was just looking at cute pets. That's the whole point of the panel, is just to look at people's pets.
Like, we got to see snakes and hats.
We got to see snakes and hats. We got to see a ridiculous number of orange cats. Like, it's a really unique panel idea. I do think probably it is easier just to have people put in both descriptions and then just have the host read them. But it's really cute. Like, I want to see this in more cons, just because I love hearing people talk about their pets.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But again, of the people who'd submitted their pets to the panel, I think maybe half of them were in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, again, perfectly fine panel, just definitely had a few organizational issues.
And again, it is hard when you're using like fan submissions in advance, particularly with Tekko, which uses Eventi, which isn't an easy app to like navigate to a Google form to like do. I'm honestly impressed that they got as many submissions as they did. It was a lot of fun, and it was just mostly looking at cute pets, which is also a lot of fun.
Yep. People cooed over Emma, which is the important part. For anybody who's not listened to this panel, Emma is our dog.
I think they can fill in the blanks, babe.
They probably can, but you never know.
So after this, we went to Mad Libbing, a fan fiction we just wrote.
Now, this is the first panel we did this weekend that we also did at Sangawa.
Yes, Sangawa Project, as mentioned before, is the smaller version of Tekko. It's slightly different. I want to like offend them by saying it's smaller.
It's run by the same group of people.
It's run by the same group of people. It's meant to be a more intimate experience where people drink and hang out, which I think is cool.
Yeah. So the premise of this panel is pretty simple. They have pre-written a piece of fan fiction, but they've come on. Oh, I'm so sorry for the yawning. But they've cut some things out of it, like all the character names, and a bunch of verbs and nouns and foods and various other things. So it basically then works like traditional Mad Libs. However, rather than get people to shout out things as they go, this one does it in an interesting way. They basically give you an index card, give you the various things they're going to need throughout the panel, and get you to number those things. So, for example, first thing was a character.
Yeah.
Then it was a verb, a noun, an adjective, type of food, a place, a country, all of this kind of stuff. And then, as they came to each one in their in their Mad Lib, they would pull one of the index cards that somebody had written. Go, okay, for this one we need a character name, number one on this card. Our character is going to be, who did it end up being?
I'm trying to remember. One of them was, I think, I remember Bathman, but I don't remember any of the like actual characters.
Yeah, they were all characters from anime we haven't seen. But anyway, when we did this at Sangawa, my suggestion for the name got pulled, and we ended up with Beowulf.
Beowulf, which was a great pick.
I went as weird as I could.
Yeah. Ours didn't wind up getting picked for this one, which again is fine. There were a lot of people in the room.
Yeah, it's completely random, but that's absolutely fine. And then basically at the end of the panel, they once the fanfic has been fully Mad-Libbed, they publish it to AO3.
Yeah, and select tags and stuff like that.
So yeah, very silly panel, very fun. Naturally, the fanfic got completely off the rails immediately because even before the Mad-Libs, it's fanfic. They freely admit they made it kind of weird.
Yeah. And it is interesting because they use so unlike most Mad Libs where you like fill in a word and then that word is filled in once, so like you'll hear the name Beowulf, then you'll never hear it again because how most Mad Libs work is you fill in every box once individually, like if you're doing them on paper. They have I don't know what computer software, Twine, I think is what they're using. They can, if you say the name Beowulf, you select then Beowulf's pronouns, and that then sets the system such that Beowulf's name will replace whatever the actual character name was in the fiction they just wrote. So it'll say Beowulf throughout the fiction after you plug the name in once, which is really cool.
Which is really great. Again, especially if you give the character, like, I'm pretty sure at the Sangawa Project, the other character in that was Will Smith, brackets from Independence Day.
Yeah.
Because whoever wrote the thing couldn't remember the character name Stephen Hiller.
Yep.
And it was much, much funnier to just have it constantly be Will Smith, brackets from Independence Day. So, yeah.
So, yeah, it's a really cool system. They clearly, manipulated it to do that, and it's a blast. We've seen Mad-Libbing fan fictions at panels before. I think this is my favorite way that it's done. And it's never really been bad, but this way is just kind of amazing. The group who does it is great.
Yep.
And it's a lot of fun.
It is. Yeah. that was a lot of fun. That was very silly, in all the best ways. And again, they did. So one of the things that this con is, it's a family friendly, so like PG-13 kind of con. Though they did have some panels that were 18 plus, most of those were put into a single 18 plus room, which actually kind of liked as a principle, because that means, one, you don't have to keep moving your staff around to have them ID check it.
Yes, and it also means if you're in an 18 plus room and you want to stay for the next thing, you just can.
Yep, you don't have to worry about getting kicked out so they can check your ID again.
Which is awesome. It's less work on staff, it's less overhead. And we were not the only people who did that throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
We were in the 18 plus room, sometimes we stayed for 2 events. Other people also did. They didn't even have to show their ID again. It was great.
Yep. Which again, that worked really quite well.
Yeah, honestly, that is a really smart idea. I want more cons to do that.
Yeah, rather than just having the 18 plus stuff scattered all over the place.
Yeah, it also means you can do 18 plus stuff throughout the day, because a lot of cons will like only have 18 plus stuff at night. As people who go to bed early by con standards,
but who also like to be able to curse on stage.
Yeah, it is nice to just be able to do 18 plus stuff during the daytime.
Again, as we've said, PG-13, you get 1 F-bomb. Yeah. Don't waste it.
That said, this Mad Loving Fanfic panel was not 18 plus.
Yeah, it was not. But the version of the Sangao project was, because again, that's entirely an 18 plus con. That's kind of why I brought it up.
Yeah.
So again, they kept the fanfic relatively tame, and I did get the impression that one of these suggestions would have been borderline. So, but rather than discarding that card, they basically just moved it to the next thing, pulled the next card, and then used the previous card for the next pull.
Yeah, although we did, I think, have sensual and hard in there, but those words by themselves aren't plus 18.
No, absolutely not. In fact, they got pulled right next to each other. Now that was pretty amusing, but
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. After that, we attempted to go to the swap meet.
Yeah.
So Tekko has 2 swap meets, one on Thursday, one on Sunday. A lot of cons are doing these now. I want them to continue because I think they're awesome. It's basically like a giant con garage sale where people sell stuff that they have that they no longer want. It makes sense as a concept because anime fans will sell to other anime fans.
Yep.
You can generally get good deals on stuff you want. People can get rid of old stuff they don't want or don't want to bother selling on eBay, and it's fun for all involved.
Yeah. So basic principle is you pay X amount to get a table. Based on a conversation we had with friends of ours, it was about $20 for a table at this one. That was quite reasonable. Then you go in, you set up your stuff, then they let the horde descend, and everybody goes through. It's highly advised to bring a bunch of cash because not everybody's going to have the ability to process cards, and you can pick up all sorts of fun and cute stuff. So you got 4 more plushies.
That was in Sunday, though, not the Thursday one.
Yes.
The Thursday one we sort of kind of went to. I did get a headband there eventually, but...
So we looked down at the area where that was being held, and we took one look at the queue to get in and said, nope. Because I'm going to be honest, after the earlier thing with the registration, we kind of didn't trust it to open on time, and again... Oh, actually, one thing we did do that we didn't mention, we did actually swing by ConOps.
Yes.
To get you a ADA sticker for your badge.
Yes.
So I don't think it ended up doing anything at all the entire weekend.
No, I was a bit confused. There's still not a lot of information on Tekko's website about accessibility generally and what to do about it. And that's not really a shot at Tekko. That's pretty standard for cons generally. Some cons like Colossal do have ADA stickers. I like this one. It was small and not noticeable, which is good.
Yep.
I don't know what I was supposed to present it to do throughout the weekend, but I did have it, so I like that, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, we tend to prefer unobtrusive things that are a thing on the badge that you can show to somebody if you need to, rather than it being anything giant and glaring and obvious.
Yeah, so I do like that as an option. It's just I don't really know. Most cons that do offer that also then don't explain what I'm supposed to do with that. I don't know what that entitles me to or what accommodations you're willing to make, and also most disabled people, I need some accommodations and not others. It's a nice idea in theory. I just still don't know
Again, I do think this con's biggest issue generally is just kind of their communication needs work.
Yeah. Because it's nice that they have it. I don't know what that would help me with. And it didn't help with the swap meet, so yeah, because we did ask about it.
Yeah. I did basically say to somebody, is there an ADA line? And they kind of looked around and went, nope. Because at that point, the line was filling up basically that entire bottom section.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was snaking back and forth. It was confusing. At one point, it rubber-rossed itself and was actively like passing through itself.
The staff down there were doing their
dog.
Aww.
I think.
That might have been, no, it's a dog. Cool.
Yay.
The staff down there, I think, were doing their best. I don't think they were prepared for the amount of line control they were expected to do.
Yes, I think that is a fair statement.
Because it was complete chaos.
Yes. Now, we did go back down there like an hour and a half later once it had been open for a bit, and it was fine.
Yeah.
It was busy inside, but like there wasn't a line outside. It was clear. It was calm. You could just go in and look around.
But the line outside when they started, I don't think was safe. Generally, it was not well organized, and there were some people who were visibly disabled down there who seemed fine, but for people with some disabilities like mine, that was just an immediate no. This is not accessible at all. Which, to be fair, I did come back later and it was at least moderately accessible. But, like, if you wanted to be there at opening, you were kind of out of luck. And it's a swap market. I don't really think I'm, like, entitled to that. But at the same time, it would be nice if there's a little bit more accommodations.
Yeah. And even beyond the accommodations, just you needed better line management down there. Like, even something as simple as the old tape on the floors trick, which I get the impression they didn't necessarily expect the swap meet to be as popular as it was. Because didn't they say something like 2,700 people went through it?
Yeah, I know that's counting both days or just Thursday even, honestly.
I love driving over roadworks. But yeah, so they had a lot of foot traffic down there. I think it was more popular than they anticipated. And I hope that next year, again, there are ways to improve that. Whether it be giving it additional space, whether that be just some clearer line management, I think was needed.
Having some stuff for people with access or stuff like this. And also, I know some of the premium badge sponsor or people were a little bit upset that they didn't get early access to the vendors hall. I do think giving them early access to the swap meet would make a lot of them happy.
Yeah.
Because the people are going to be there setting up anyway. They have to be there an hour before. Just let them in 15 minutes earlier or something like that to get the stuff that they want. I think that would make a lot of premium sponsors pretty happy.
It probably would. So yeah, lovely roadworks. So yeah, so what was the next thing that we actually ended up doing?
So we went up and played Jackbox games. This is something we don't do a lot at cons because it's rarely done well, to be honest.
Yeah, so Jackbox games can be fun.
It's just most people who run them at cons don't really think about what games the audience wants to play.
Yes.
So if you're not familiar with Jackbox, this is all going to sound like gibberish. Also, this was in the 18+ room, so that was fun. So we went in there, showed IDs, easy enough to get in, sat down. That room was bizarrely hot for whatever reason.
Yeah, I do remember making a joke about that, but
yeah. But this just kind of, I think, had some of the standard problems that Jackbox games have at cons, which generally most Jackbox games only about 8 people can play at a time. And some of them have an audience, but it's never as fun to be part of an audience. Like, there's some games like Bracketeering, which take up to 16, and the audience basically gets to continue to play. Or at least with Trivia Murder Party, even if you're not actually playing it, you can still play it in the audience fine. Like, you can still answer the questions, and it's still fun. But a lot of the games, the audience just votes on who's funniest, and that's, not really that much fun.
Yes. So, yeah. And, again, this it also had the problem that because of the way Jackbox games works, you basically type code into your phone to get into a specific room. A lot of panelists do this as fast as fingers first, which basically they will let in the specific people they want to, which usually means the panel. Yeah,
which I also don't, unless I don't really think you should be playing every round as a panelist with this, because if there's a room where people want to play, at least trade off when you're playing. I get it, it's your game. You should be able to play at least some of the time. If you want to say that you get in, every third game or something like that, valid.
Yeah.
But try to get in as many people as you can.
Yeah. And then they basically just unveil the code to the room and let the room type as quickly as they can on a phone to get in. So if
you have a disability that makes that difficult.
Yeah.
If you have a slower phone, it generally means that the same people who just happen to be the people with the quickest reflexes wind up playing over and over again, and some people don't get to play at all.
You're definitely not listening to this podcast, but if you did this panel again, just like draw lots, pick
Draw
people
lots.
from the audience,
Or even just like be polite and ask and be like, okay, if you've already played a game, don't do it again.
Wait to join in until the game's full. And,
or just again, just have people raise their hands and then like bring them behind the screen one by one, so it's a little bit less stressful for everyone.
Yeah,
I did wind up playing one weirdly. This is the first time I've ever beaten anyone at Fastest Fingers. I was, cool about that. Also, just pick games that are like fun for everyone to play, like Trivia Murder Party, which I think they did play, is actually fun for everyone to play, just because everyone answer questions. Bracketeering, fun for everyone to play. Monster Seeking Monster, I admit I don't find fun generally.
Again, I don't know the Jackbox games quite as well as you do, because again, you've used them with your class before.
Yeah. I've also just played a lot of them online, and they are fun to play. Just some of them are more fun to play and fun to watch. And when I do play with friends online, if there's more than 8 of us, we do trade off who gets to play.
I've been part of those game nights, and one of the comments is usually, okay, who's not had a go yet? Okay, you can get in. Okay, now everybody else who wants to can join in.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, I think is I think overall it's a better way to handle it. It just makes for a more enjoyable experience, but it's one of our personal pet peeves. Then I think we did go to the swap meet.
Yes, we did go to the swap meet. It was a little bit clearer then, still crowded, but I bought a headband to go with my bell costume that actually matched perfectly.
Yeah, it was kind of weirdly spooky.
Yeah.
Destiny. Ooh.
Stop creeping me out.
But yeah, so again, perfectly fine. Fairly busy.
Mm-hmm.
I suspected it eased off a little bit since the mad rush when it opened.
Yeah.
Because everybody was hunting for the best deals, the best bargains, and the stuff they really, really wanted, and all of that jazz.
You okay?
Yeah, we just drove past a cop, and I hate doing that.
So after that, we went to PowerPoint karaoke, which I loved.
Yeah, this panel was great. So the basic principle of this panel, and this was the 18 plus version, I believe, and then they did a non-18 plus version the next night, was they called up members of the audience. You could either do it individually or in groups of, I think, up to 3.
Yeah, up to 3 I think would be about right to make sure that you weren't talking to each other too much.
Yep. And you got to pick a PowerPoint presentation based on a series of options. Mm-hmm. And then you had to give the presentation without any prep.
Yep.
This was actually quite a fun little improv experience. Because, of course, the slides are complete nonsense. Mm-hmm. They're basically just random graphs and pictures that are complete non sequiturs with the actual topic of the panel. And you just got to BS your way through it. Mm-hmm. This was a lot of fun. I actually really quite like the setup of this one, and it's one of those ideas we might nick at some point if we ever get around to doing more panels.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun, and it's fun both 18 plus and not 18 plus. We caught at least a bit of one earlier.
Yeah.
We did get to do this, which was great. Ours was about how to join a cult, which was British in academia.
Yep. So you basically you made your half of the cult academia and mine half British, and we were just trading off on each other because again we know exactly where each other's limits and boundaries.
There was also a kiss, not during our presentation, but in another prepresentation between 2 people who had never met before.
Yep.
Which consensual, obviously.
Yeah, they checked with each other before they went.
Yeah.
It was awkward as heck. But
it was the type of kiss that you could tell that those people had never kissed before and were trying to be as polite about it as possible.
It was great. Again, they were both fine with it.
Yes. Also, I think both masculine identifying, although I won't assume, which also awesome. Gay representation.
Yeah, one of them was dressed as Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I know nothing about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
The other of which was an incredible character actor, who did ask at the beginning of the panel, because this person was very clearly African American, if it was okay to be racist against your own race in the panel, and the old white panelist had no idea how to answer that, which I think is the correct response. It was not on them.
Yeah.
But again, fair. That's hard to moderate.
Yeah. But again, they did basically say, Be kind to each other. Don't
Yep.
be don't be bigoted. Don't be racist. You can make
Jokes.
You can make jokes. Just don't be a dick about it, basically.
And those people were great. The African American person who asked that question made all his friends go to, because they were doing a Safe for Work version later that weekend. He made all his friends go to the next one and participate.
Yeah,
because he loved it so much.
That was great.
I'm sorry if I'm assuming him, but I think he said he was also, I think, the best character actor. He had a character he was playing in his presentation that was an incredibly well established and good character.
Yeah, like,
so
I feel like he's probably done improv in some capacity before, either that or he's just good at it.
Yeah. But to be clear, all the presentations were great. I had a blast in ours. Ours was the most safe for work.
Yeah.
And most making fun of the British as it was. I made you sing that God Save the King.
Ugh. I still shudder every time I hear that.
And you joked about murdering me.
Yeah, and you very slowly scooched away from me in a way that was hilarious.
And the audience can also ask questions, which I think works for making it participatory.
Yep.
My two critiques would probably just be don't let people present alone, because the time slots for presentations, it's about 10 slides, are about 15 minutes long, and one, that means less people can go up. Two, very few people, even if you're experienced at improv, even Alkali, who we've seen is a professional comedian at a furry convention, even he struggles to do 15 minutes unprepared.
Yeah.
It's just easier to have somebody to talk off of and back.
Yeah, so I think groups of 2 or 3 is probably about the right size.
And if people are by themselves, just pair them up with somebody. Obviously, if they're with somebody, you can team them together. Yeah. And I don't think it really makes sense to team a third person with 2 people who know each other, because
not unless they're all kind of comfortable with it. But again, it's little things. Again, this panel was excellent.
Yeah,
it really was. And
the slides were great. They were incredibly well done.
Yeah,
and so random.
Again, we were not entirely sure how bizarre it was going to get.
It got bizarre. I want to make one of these. I would have a blast doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, what the heck were those fruits things?
And they actually use PowerPoint, not Google Slides.
Yes, we'll talk about that.
I get that Google Slides is free and PowerPoint isn't, but here's the thing. You can download Google Slides. You should do that.
Yes, you should have your slides on something other than just the cloud. Because the one major complaint that multiple people had this year about the convention center, and it was true at Anthrocon, their Wi-Fi sucks.
I work in education. The thing I always I think I'm just more prepared for this than most people. The first thing I think of when I think of stuff going wrong is technology not working as a college professor, because it happens. You need backup plans.
Yep.
Particularly anytime you're anywhere new. Anytime I'm at a job interview where I have to give a talk, or just have to give a talk generally for a conference, I'm okay. Backed up in triplicate on 3 different things. I have handouts if this does not work.
Nope. Again, it's all about the prep work. And again,
and I'm not begrudging people who don't work in a field where you wouldn't think of these things.
Yeah. But again, the Wi-Fi was definitely a bit on the jack side this weekend.
But yeah, people after that panel, one person who I think we hung out with all weekend, I'm going to use they, them, because I'm definitely not sure for them pronouns, asked if we were hosting panels this weekend. One of the staff members came up to us and said we had great chemistry after that. It was just a really great, warm, fuzzy moment. So,
which the answer is we did actually submit panels to this one. They did not get approved. I think we just submitted them kind of late.
We submitted them kind of late. There's a lot of programming that's already on their schedule. They're clearly. I'm not begrudging them for that.
Not at all. They pretty much admitted that if it was up to programming, they would have 3 more panel rooms.
Yep.
They just physically don't have the space for 3 more panel rooms. At least not this year. They might be expanding into the Western next year.
Yeah.
Maybe. Which would be good for them, I think.
Yes. So that was the last thing on Thursday. They did end early on Thursday around 8:30, which I was kind of glad about, just because when you're looking at a 4-day convention. So we got to our Warhol-themed Airbnb.
Yes. Which, yeah, Andy Warhol-themed Airbnb.
There was an Andy Warhol-themed keychain.
Yep. I don't still have it, obviously, because, again, we checked out by the Airbnb and we returned the keys, but, yeah. People do weird and interesting things.
It was aggressively fine. We're not an Airbnb review podcast. We don't even really have any funny anecdotes other than it was Warhol-themed.
Yep. And it was relatively inexpensive.
Yep, $200, 3 nights.
Yep, can't complain. So, yeah.
And there was a little bit, because it was an apartment, I guess, crosstalk in the morning, but, when we got in at night, it was quiet, so who cares?
Yeah, again, that was basically fine. It was about a 12-minute drive if we went direct.
Yeah, we did stop and get food, I think, 2 out of the 3 nights.
Yeah. Just because, again, I need to eat sometimes.
I do too. My food is pre-scheduled, though.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not as good at, planning for that stuff as you are.
It's okay. We're also just at a place in life where we can afford to get fast food.
So, So that was day one, and I do want to note that I think this is the first time Tekko's really made Thursday a full day.
It's a bit unclear because it does mention it on their Wikipedia page. So I think they might have switched from it being a 4-day to a 3-day before. I'm not an entire person to Tekko history, although Rebecca might actually be listening to this, so feel free to email us, Rebecca. We will definitely.
Yeah, the contact email's in the show notes.
Yep.
Feel free to tell us that. And if you are just listening to this, that contact information is concouplepodcast@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to sling us an email and tell us how wrong we were about everything.
Mm-hmm.
Or just tell us that you liked us. That's also an option.
So yeah, what I can tell is that it did move to the David Lawrence Convention Center around 2009, and in 2010 it was expanded into a 4-day convention. Then it moved hotels a couple times due to various things like crowding and issues at one hotel. And I think between the moves, it moved back to a 3-day convention, although I'm not entirely sure.
That's fair. Yeah, either way, I think this was the first time in a while that they've done it as a 4-dayer.
Yes.
Or I get the impression that they've had badge pickup and some basic meetups on Thursday for a couple of years, but this was the first time they were doing an actual full day of paneling and all of that kind of jazz. And again, slightly shorter day, started at 12, ended at 8:30, but that's still 8 hours of content.
There were a few tech problems the first day.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
For the fanfic panel, for a while, like most convention centers, the number of rooms that are actually there depends on where you put the dividers in, because you can push dividers out and make one big room, or you can put dividers in and make 2 smaller rooms, which in and of itself is fine. Different cons are going to want rooms of different sizes, but you probably should check to make sure the microphones are only in the speakers that are in your new room and not the other room.
Because they actually have the convention center. We did not realize this until this weekend. Actually has built-in speakers in the panel rooms,
which is good.
That's a really cool addition. Good design decision. But however they've been set up, we were getting audio from the panel next door in that room. Up until they did manage to get it fixed in time for the panel to actually get started pretty much on time. It was just quite funny while it was happening.
Yeah, another issue that we did kind of notice throughout the weekend is, and it's worth saying projectors are expensive, is rather than having projectors, which you can, I assume, rent, because I do think we saw them at Anthro, Ohio, for the most part, people were using TVs.
Yes.
I think the lecture panel upstairs, we went to one of those, had a projector, but everything else was TVs mostly. Yes. Which is difficult in bigger panel rooms because not everyone can see it.
Yes. Which again, it's better than nothing. Mm-hmm. It's not the best solution. And again, I freely admit in panel rooms, I'm never entirely sure what the best solution is.
You can put projectors up. I assume they cost more money, and that's probably part of the issue that Tekko's having. And for us, at least, we got to panel rooms early, and we're pretty easy to see the TV. Because Tekko does have, between most panels in each room, a 30-minute gap between stuff.
Yeah.
Which I was a bit curious about why the gap was that so much. Because a lot of conventions only have a 5 to 10 minute break between panels for setup and teardown.
Yeah.
I'm well, most of these don't require setup and teardown. Why is it taking so long? Oh, people at this con really just talking to each other.
Yeah.
It's mostly just that.
Yeah, you just needed time to have a chin wag and do some setup and teardown and all that kind of jazz. So yeah. Again, I think honestly it was probably the right decision overall, because it meant the panels didn't get too rushed. A panel overrunning its time by 5 minutes, letting itself kind of end naturally. The next person still has 25 minutes to get set up. That's plenty of time, and it was working great.
Yeah, I didn't really feel too bored with the breaks, because we did stay in some panel rooms for 30 minutes in between, but it was time to go to the bathroom. We weren't often chatting with people. And I will say, it was in part due to lack of space, generally, but I think this is the first con in a while where we've not had a sit-down time where we just played board games, because we had nothing to do.
Yeah, we managed to keep ourselves pretty entertained, pretty much constantly.
Constantly.
Constantly. There were several times when we had like an hour and a half gap, and those are the times when normally we just kind of go to the games room and just like pull out one of the board games we bring with us, because again we've got a couple of standbys in the con bag. At this con, we did not do that at any point. We would, instead we kind of like wandered around and talked to people.
Yeah.
Went to the vendors hall for a bit. You got complimented in your outfits a lot. Oh, yeah. I was going to say we haven't talked about Friday's outfit yet.
We haven't gotten
really
on to Friday yet.
Yeah.
So for Friday we did Hades and Persephone, which is a standby for us, and generally anytime we're doing a new convention we'll probably do it, just because it's an outfit we feel really comfortable in.
Yep. If you've not heard this podcast before, the artwork for the podcast, that's Hades and Persephone. That was done at Cleveland Fan Expo, 2 and a bit years ago now. By a very talented artist who was very kind enough to draw us. I say kind enough. We did give her money, but we love that image of us.
So we got to the convention center a little before 9:30. I was unaware that the convention center didn't open for people till 9:30. It does say on the back of the badge, but it said 9 online, so that was a little bit confusing.
Yeah, so we got there assuming we'd be going in at 9. With again panels starting at 10.
Yeah.
We got there and there was a line outside. We were a little confused, and then we did look at the back of the con badges for pretty much the first time, and we realised it was 9:30. And again, we were still definitely in a bit of a dodgy emotional state that first morning.
Yeah, I think we were just kind of going through a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I think it says something I don't even really remember why specifically I was upset. I'm sure you do, but I don't.
left the dogs at Airbnb.
Oh, yeah.
So, a couple of cons back, we acquired, well, it was probably more than a couple.
It's probably not worth talking about this. It was some dumb stuff that was actually about deeper stuff. You guys have all been there.
Yeah.
Whatever. So yeah, because of that, I think we did just kind of walk around and kind of reset a bit that morning.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing we did was at 11. I'm trying to find it.
Sounds about right. And yeah.
For record, this, as we mentioned, Eventi is kind of hard to use, so it does take me a bit to find stuff.
Because again, we do so much stuff, it's easy to lose track of what we did, which again, it's a decent chunk of the reason why this podcast exists.
So we did There Are 10 But, the game show.
Ah, yes.
It's more of a silly game than a game show, but still fun.
Yes.
You want to explain it?
Yeah. So this was basically a case of they would put up there are 10 but, then they would give you the but statement.
Can we rewind briefly? Because before that we did do, I think, a photo shoot outside.
Oh yeah, we did. We bumped into somebody who just liked our costumes and wanted to do a quick photo shoot with us.
Yeah, so they posed us and stuff like that. There's a lot of free photography at this con, which is awesome. And after that we did it. There are 10 but.
So then they kind of went around the room asking, what the new score would be, how that would change. Actually, they did bring people up, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh, I completely forgot what we did before that. I am so sorry. This was a very fun panel. It's just because this one's not really very well labeled. I went over it. Okay. Unlockable contents, GPS the game, watching people play Mario Kart blindfolded.
Yes. So, the way this panel basically worked is they had Mario Kart set up.
Mm-hmm.
Then you were racing against each other.
Yep.
2 players at a time, racing. Except you were not allowed to look at the screen.
Yes.
You had to have a partner who was looking at the screen, who was telling you to go left, go right, etc., etc., etc. This was very, very stupid, but it was great.
It was. I also missed something we did the previous day. I think the Eventi app is not great.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was run by Unlockable Content, who we did Pictionary with the previous day.
Gotcha. Yeah, we did do that Pictionary panel.
I don't know where that fit into the schedule. It's fine. And then we saw them because we remembered them from Key City Steampunk, because it makes sense that it was the same guy. I don't know why I didn't put it together, because he has a particular game of Pictionary, which I suppose we can talk about now. Then we'll go back to the Mario Kart. Sorry for the skip around, guys. So you want to explain the Pictionary thing we did the day before?
Yeah. So this was Air Pictionary or something like that is the name of the app that he uses, and it's basically just a case of you've got a pen wand with a little clicky button on it, and you stand in front of the phone, you click the button, and then you draw, and the phone tracks that. So you can basically draw effectively on a screen, rather than using a pad or anything like that. And it works pretty well.
Yeah, and we saw it at Key City, and my silly ass didn't put. I love it how I filtered dumb and not ass. I don't know why I did that.
We might be a little tired at this one, guys.
Because I was trying to like filter ass, not that. I love how I'm saying it now as though that makes it better.
Yeah. It's fine.
Some of the bad ones.
It's not. Moving on.
Did not put it together that this person who looked very familiar with the person that we did this at Key City, a steampunk con in Gettysburg with last year, who is not going to be there this year, but did remember us from last year.
Yep.
Was the same person. I'm like, oh, it's like the thing we did at Key City. In fairness, you didn't recognize him either.
Nope.
But he recognized us later that night. But it's a very fun, silly game where you draw on a board. It did suffer a little bit, not much, but a little bit from the fact that like the screen in the room was small. Yep. So you effectively only had to play in like 1/3 of the room.
Yeah, which again, the crowd there was small enough that he managed to make it work just by kind of basically saying, okay guys, you're probably all going to want to come over here so that you can see. But again, I do feel like the TVs they were a little bit of an issue this weekend. Like, not catastrophic, but if we can get some projectors and bigger screens next year, I think that would be good. But again, money.
It was very fun. It's a very silly game, and again, because it was just like Pictionary with anime, everyone just also started throwing out whatever random anime they knew for answers, which meant two things were guessed without anyone even drawing anything.
Yeah, because you kept yelling One Piece, and eventually One Piece did come up.
Yep.
You started a trend.
Well, I was appreciative of the fact that at least most of, and this is a common problem, we'll probably talk about this a couple times because we did a lot of game show panels. Mm-hmm. It's a little tricky designing like game show type content for anime cons specifically because anime is a pulp genre. There's a lot of different anime, and most people have not seen all of it.
Yeah.
And there's some anime that only like 2 people have seen. So.
Yeah. Like again, I'm pretty sure somebody figured out recently that with the amount of anime being produced, it's literally impossible to watch all of it. It is being produced faster than you could watch it.
Yeah, and it's pretty much similar to having like a romance book con or something like that. There's a lot of romance books that are out there. Everyone has their favorite and they're all different. So you kind of have to go with extremely mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why I was just naming out the names of like animes I happen to know the names of, because if I know the names of them, they're mainstream.
Yep. But yeah, so again, fun little panel. And so the next panel that we did with him was the Mario Kart one, which, that was a blast.
It was.
They set it to bullets only for the power-ups, if you're aware of that, because that actually gets you back on the right course.
Yes.
You were annoyed with me because I somehow kept going the wrong direction no matter whether you said left or right.
Yeah, I know. It was kind of impressive. But you somehow, like, after that, just managed to get bullets the entire time. Mm-hmm. So you actually got 10th place. For reference, the lowest was 12. In the vast majority of races at 11th and 12th. We actually beat one of the computers.
Yep, we beat one of the NPCs.
Yes.
Not many people did.
Yeah. The host did say they had a special prize for anyone who managed to get 4th or above, which some people were in 1st for parts of it just by getting a lot of bullet power-ups, but never for long.
No.
It always ended in heartbreak.
It did, but it was great to watch.
Yeah. And then somebody who was just out by the last round, they just had somebody driving by themselves and the entire audience directing them, and they got a special prize, which I think is fair.
It was.
It was adorably cute.
Yeah, that was a fun panel. It was very, very stupid.
Yeah.
But I love the fact his comment was, yes, I have actually had people come to me and tell me that they've been practicing for this, and I'm just like, why?
Well, I know people claim to have Mario Kart courses memorized in the sense that they might know the maneuvers and stuff like that if you're like a competitive player or whatever. But I'm still not convinced that, like, I'm sure some YouTuber can probably prove me wrong, that you can actually do a course just by joystick maneuver and nothing else.
Well, again, there's other people doing stuff. There's power-ups being flung around. Like, that's going to mess with you.
Yeah. Yeah. It was fun. It's silly and ridiculous. And I love that this con has so much silly, fun, ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
Like people often ask us why we go to cons when we're not anime fans. It's because I want to play driving Mario Kart backwards in a room full of nerds, okay?
Yep.
Like, that's why I go. That specifically.
You don't get that exact high very often.
You really don't.
But yeah. So yeah, this panel was a blast.
Yes. And somewhere in between that, we did a photo shoot. I don't really remember if that was before or after.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, then we did the aforementioned there were 10 butt panel, which again was perfectly fine and functional.
Yep. You just it was just a bunch of characters. Did you already describe this? I don't remember.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, you just talked about characters and why they were right or wrong. It was very silly fun. We both got up there. At this point, I think it just also kind of became about our marriage, which was hilarious.
That usually happens.
Yeah. Because we'll figure out we're married, and then we like play off each other a bunch. So I think you got they're a 10, but they cry at literally anything, and I started laughing hysterically.
Yep, this is the point at which you told the story about me crying when we bought a couch.
Yes. Which resulted in somebody later, because one of the things that's been particularly great about this con is people have then seen us later and called us by things, or like, oh, look, it's the academia, like, British cult people.
Yep.
Or in this case, it's like, oh, look, it's that couple with the sensitive husband.
Yep. Thanks for that. It's not an inaccurate statement, but thanks.
So yeah, it's just being in a room with people doing stuff like this is great. And they did a great job, like, including everyone. Like, that was a game everyone in the room could, like, collectively play together.
Yeah.
And they did a good job, and I thought panelists did a good job this weekend, particularly with games where anyone could play, that everyone got up and got a turn. Like, people were going up for, like, second or third rounds by the end of it, because it was, like, an hour-long panel. But they made sure everyone who wanted to get up and, like, rate somebody did. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. You doing okay?
Yeah. Again, definitely a bit tired after this weekend. We're also only like 20 miles from home.
Oh yeah. We had to create a like special side road trip to finish recording this.
Yeah, because we knew this episode was going to be a long one.
We're not even on Saturday yet.
I know. It's fine. We know what our plan is for this one. So,
so we will have a special guest joining us shortly.
Yes.
The special guest cannot talk and is made of fur.
She's not made of fur. She's covered in fur.
And you've already heard her name on this podcast. See if you can figure it out. It's incredibly difficult to figure out.
Yep. So yeah, anywho.
So yeah, have I mentioned that a venti is not good?
Yeah, we're not fans. Like, again, it's not the worst choice, but it's not great. But again, at least they are taking that as feedback.
At this point, I think we actually did go into the vendor's hall because I was kind of interested.
Yes, we did.
Went around. There's decent plush representation, and I will say, and it's hard for us to review vendor's halls because they're all very similar looking. They did have a lot of different stuff at this one.
They did. Like, they had a couple of steampunk stalls. They had some fashion stuff. They had the usual like anime collectibles kind of stuff. A bunch of plush.
This app sucks. They also, I don't think they were there Friday, but on Saturday they definitely had like cats up for adoption and a display of birds.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they were only there on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. So can you think of something to say about that while I desperately try to figure out how to work this schedule?
Sure.
Okay.
So, interestingly for this one, they were using the same space for the vendors hall as Anthrocon, but they were only using 2 of the halls rather than all 3, and the other one was being used as their gaming space. So that's where they had their arcade machines. That's where they had some VR stuff set up. That's where they had their board game area set up if you wanted to just grab a table and play a board game. Didn't see much of a board game library, but they were selling some stuff and various other bits and bobs. Which again, always nice to see. Nice bit of extra diversity in programming there. They also had a sort of Pokemon trading card thing going on in the corner. That was kind of like themed around doing special challenges and getting badges and all of that kind of jazz. Looked fun if you're into Pokemon trading card game.
I think we did video game name that blip after this.
Sounds about right.
And have I mentioned that this app is not very friendly? It breaks. It is free. That's good for the con, at least.
Have you tried using the day view rather than the list view?
Yes, I'm on the day view now.
Good.
There's a lot of controversy about which of these is better. Both
Yep.
of them are not that great, so it's tough
Yep.
competition.
Yeah, both of them are kind of flawed in different ways. It's mostly just which is least unhelpful. And again, we don't blame the con for having to choose the cheap option. We understand that.
When did that start? That started at 3. I don't feel like we talk about what that is. I'll see if there's anything else we did in the meantime.
Okay. So, did we not do the husbando panel in the middle of that?
I thought the husbando panel's in the same room, so no.
Okay.
The husbando panel was after that, yes.
Okay, that's
So
fair.
yeah, we might have just gone around and done other random stuff. I don't know. We're tired. Okay, explain the panel.
Certainly. So, a video game named that Blip. It was a video game named that, Name the Tune panel. We've seen these at cons a few times. I've participated in them before and found out that I suck. So, the way that this one operated was they did an initial round that was for the entire audience, where they basically played 5 tunes from video games, and you got given a note card. You had to write on it whatever name you wanted to be called by, and then the name of the game it was from, the title of the track, and like the location in the game where you would find it. And they didn't need it to be too precise. Like, if you said dungeon and it was from a dungeon theme, that was fine.
I wrote joke answers for mine.
Yeah, you wrote joke answers because you had no idea. I knew, I think I might have got half a dozen points at most out of a potential 15. And then basically they just got all the note cards up front, spent a couple of minutes tallying all the scores to find out who scored the highest, and the 3 people who scored the highest got to be the panel.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine way to do that. That means that there's a good chance you're going to have people who are going to know this stuff, as opposed to just nobody having a clue. And so that was a game show, and those people had to sort of identify bits of game music.
It was well done. They had different rounds. They had a lot of music set up. It was, I think, fairly well thought out and planned.
Oh yeah, that was well planned.
Yes.
I have no real notes about the planning.
They also had to give the musical instruments as buzzers, which was great. And everyone got a prize who got up there, because they had already won the first trivia competition, which is also great. And they also had prizes for audience for questions that they couldn't guess, and they had special audience questions so everyone could play. And they clearly very thought about this as an experience, which I liked a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. This is somebody who put in the time and effort to really think through this panel. Based on what they said, I think this is at least their 3rd or 4th year running it. Possibly more, not sure. But they did a great job. Round 3 was evil.
Yeah.
Because round 3 was just aggressively obscure, but it was supposed to be.
It was. But it was good. I enjoyed watching it. And it's sometimes nice to have a game that, I don't know anything about video game music, and I was still entertained, which I think is always a great sign. So after that was Rate My Husbando.
Yep.
Which is somewhat what it sounds like. You want to explain?
Certainly. So, was it Rate or Defend?
I think it was Defend Your Husbando.
Defend Your Husbando.
Sorry, there's similar sounding panels. We did go to multiple of them.
Yeah. So, Defend Your Husbando is pretty much what it sounds like. If you're not familiar with the term, husbando is the male equivalent of waifu, which basically is just the animated character you are attracted to for some reason. And those reasons are many, varied, and valid. But the way this particular panel worked is you put your name into the hat. In this case, the hat was a bucket. And it would get drawn out. And you then had to go up and get randomly assigned a waifu or husbando to defend. This panel was husbandos. They did waifus the next day. And you basically had to talk for a minute on why your randomly assigned husbando was awesome. And then it was bracket style, so they did various categories. They would do 2 from each category, each with a person defending them. Whoever won the argument moved forward to the next round, until they crowned the overall best husbando, Tekko 2025, which in this case ended up being Link from Legend of Zelda.
Cool.
Yep. And we both got picked for this one.
We did.
The host was really happy when that happened.
Yeah.
Or she was really happy when you got picked, because we actually did the Rate My Waifu panel at Sangawa, again, same group running it, and we ended up facing off against each other in the final, which I think they might have fudged slightly on purpose when they realized we were a married couple.
Yeah, people were cheering for it though. They wanted it to happen.
Yeah, like it was good audience participation.
And one of my favorite con moments, just generally, that was a blast.
That was fantastic because people came up to us afterwards and were checking if our marriage was okay.
Yeah.
Because again, we know exactly where each other's limits are, which means we can make jokes at each other's expenses that we cannot do to strangers.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's something for which, like, as somebody who like doesn't really watch anime, like, there's maybe like 3 people there I know total, so I'm gonna get somebody I don't know, and it's actually kind of a fun like debating challenge to try to defend somebody you don't know, and I made it pretty far. So.
Yeah, you did.
And I got to say poetry in big butt lines and other stuff like that. Like,
yeah, you got the reference, baby got back.
Yep.
Because you had, what was it,
guts. I like big guts, and I cannot lie.
Yeah.
And the people who won, like, this one was definitely, because we went to both Husbando and Rate My Waifu. Husbando definitely got a bit more passionate than Rate My Waifu this time, which is interesting. Both were good, though.
Yeah. And again, we had fun doing it.
Yep.
You know, I got eliminated relatively early this time, but again, like...
You were up against somebody who was really good, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I do not begrudge them taking that one.
Yeah, and it's just obviously random who you get matched up against, and some people, like, are more comfortable debating things they don't know, others aren't. Some people can think of things to say off the top of their heads, others can't. It's not really a competition. It's just silly improv, which I love, and the person who runs it is very into it, so...
Yeah.
And there are prizes for everyone who gets up there.
Yeah, and they're busy showing you, like, questionable fan art.
Yep.
Of the characters in the background. So, you know, if you know nothing about the character, they give you a very quick cheat sheet with like 3 bullet points to pull from. But you can just like riff based on the available fan art. And I did love the fact that we were talking to her afterwards and she was like, yeah, I had to go through my entire fan art collection because I'd accidentally got the not safe for work ones, and I'm going to be honest, her safe for work ones are still pretty dang spicy.
They're very fan servicey, let's put it that way.
Yes. You know, she was like, yeah, I had to go through and like scrub them because there was a bunch of stuff on display that I definitely would not be allowed to show the non-18 plus version, which was great. So yeah, we really love this person. They are. You know,
we got to talk to them a little bit too this con. They're very nice and very sweet. So, and clearly very into this panel, as they should be. It's a really great, popular panel.
Yeah. So yeah, like that was a lot of fun. It was great watching it. Yeah, it was great participating in it.
It is. I highly recommend it.
At least in part because it's great whenever somebody gets called up and they're like, okay, I like one of the people, you know, like
and
one
they
of the
really
people
want
on this
that
screen,
person.
and I really want that person, and then they get the one person that they absolutely hate, and they're like, dang it, now I've got to defend them.
And if you hate somebody, it's actually pretty easy to defend them because at least you know a lot about them.
Yeah, it's the ones you don't know where you really have to get riffy. Which, again, you started looking up academic articles that reference Berserk.
Yeah, it was funny.
Now, if you get through the second round, you do usually have time to do a quick bit of research if you don't know the character.
I also got to utter the line because this was a safe for work panel because I was looking at AO3 tags, just like, and one of the tags is cream pie, which means he's good at baking.
Yeah, it was phenomenal watching the host of the panel just go, oh god. Okay, she pulled it back.
Yep.
Like, you technically kept that safe for work.
I did.
Good job.
Goes over the heads of anyone who doesn't know what that means. And if you do, you're already too far gone anyway.
Yep. Yeah. The heck did we do after that?
I am looking it up. As you can tell, this is not the most user-friendly app. Have I mentioned that? I'm sorry that this has turned into the complaining about this app podcast. So I will also point out that at this point in the con, and keep in mind we've been driving 2 hours to get home at this point. At this point during the convention, during our review, is when opening ceremonies happened.
Oh,
now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Opening ceremonies was like 5 o'clock on Friday after functionally 2 days of con had already happened.
Which doesn't really make a lot of sense for me, because if you are waiting for people to get off work, that's still not really enough time. And if you're not, it's a bit weird, because like the convention's been happening for like 36 hours at that point.
Yeah.
Cool, though.
Yep. Yeah, we didn't go to opening ceremonies at this one. We were busy doing other things.
We actually stayed in that room for Anime Gauntlet game show, I think.
Yes, we did do the Anime Gauntlet game
Which
show.
is a very weird game show that was, I think, just designed by somebody and very fun. This was a very creative, like, original concept game show. And I liked it because you barely had to know anything about anime to play it.
I'm blanking on the details of this one. Would you mind?
Yeah, so this was something standard. You took people from the audience who were just volunteers. We didn't volunteer for this one because I think we needed to cool down after Rate My Husbando. And also, we don't really know anything about anime, and we didn't know what the show was actually about, and whether or not it would be at something that a skill level that we could answer. It was a gauntlet game show that was just basically random stuff about anime that this person turned into rounds. So the first round was guess from the photo which Wikipedia article about anime this is.
Oh yeah.
And it just shows somebody looking confused as a computer, or somebody putting spoons over their eyes, or something like that. And it was multiple choice, obviously, so people could guess, and you were just trying to guess which one it was.
Yep.
And then the next round.
The spoons over your eyes thing was, how do I give myself anime eyes?
Yeah.
Don't go on WikiHow, kids.
The next round was, is this a true or false anime? We did have a bit of snafu in this one. You had to run out of the room because somewhere along the way I lost my glasses.
Yes. I'm not entirely sure when that happened. So we were looking for them, and again, like, emotions, problems, yada yada yada. So yeah,
it wasn't really that big a deal.
No, but again, I got into my I need to fix this kind of brain space.
So you went by Conops?
After like searching the con bag and not being able to find them, I eventually did think, hang on a minute, there is a lost and found here. So I went to Conops and basically said, has anybody turned in a pair of glasses? And they said, what color? And I said, black. And they said, is this them? And I said, yes.
So yeah, shout out to Conops and the person who turned those in.
Yep, thank you very much for turning in your glasses. Like, you have other pairs, but it was nice to get those back without any problems. That was great. Thank you.
We did, I think, experience a couple more minor problems this con that, to be clear, were our fault, not the con's fault, than normal. And that was just kind of one of them. Forgetting the dogs in the morning, or my stuff that I like as part of my costume was one of them. Something happened the next day that we'll talk about. The con actually has been really great about making them less of problems than they were.
Yeah. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so returned with your glasses. Then the last round was, what was it, like hyper zoomed in anime? Or was that a different thing?
That was,
no,
I think,
it was
a different one.
Face swaps.
Yeah, they face swapped a bunch of anime characters and you had to guess.
And it was a case of like 1 point for each half of the swap. So whose face is that on whose body, kind of thing.
See, I do think we left the room briefly because we did go back and get different seats, but I don't really remember what we did. I mostly just remember that because I know that my glasses could have potentially been like one other place, but I don't remember where else they would have been.
Vendors Hall.
Were we in the vendors hall at that time period?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'd been to the vendors hall earlier that day, and that was about all we could think of.
Yeah.
So my guess is you'd probably taken them off and kind of put them on your dress, then stood up, they'd fallen, neither of us had caught it, and just somebody had turned them in during the next panel while we were kind of in the vendors hall.
Yeah.
So thank you whoever turned them in, and thank you Conops for giving them back.
At this point it was close to sunset and we went to the roof.
Yep.
Just kind of walk around.
Yep. This is where we saw the proposal.
Yeah, it was adorable, and then you started crying.
Yeah.
And it was very cute and very sweet, and watching the girl or the person who was being proposed to, they seem like a traditional mass femme relationship, but I'm not going to assume. But watching the person who looked more femme presenting.
Toph. They were dressed as Toph from Avatar.
Yes. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're femme presenting, I want to emphasize.
Yeah.
Particularly with Toph as a character.
Again, Toph is, let's face it, when Toph finds out in the episode that, with the Ember Island players, when she realizes that she's been played by a hyper buff dude, she is over the moon about it.
Yeah, but that person was shouting, I knew it, and it was just the most adorable thing. So it's definitely what I would have shouted. And some people, like Stealth, took their pictures, but not in a creepy way, like in a,
this is really sweet, they might want a picture of it, and like, as soon as they would like, done, he kind of went up to them and was like, hey, I hope this was okay, I took a picture of this.
Yeah.
They were clearly like communicating to airdrop it to them or something like that, so that was very, very sweet. Like, again, this entire con just is so goddamn wholesome, it hurts.
It really is. Trying to see if we did anything else on Friday night. Because I know we kind of sat in the back of the panel, but I don't know if we, like, went to it. Be patient with me.
Yeah, good.
Because they did have the formal ball on, which we thought about going to. Oh, yeah, here's what we did. So we didn't go to the formal ball because it's kind of overcrowded, and they didn't really have the formal ball like in a dance space. It was just in a panel room upstairs. So we decided it was going to be too crowded. The formal ball also required masks, which I'm not mentioning because I think that's a bad thing. I think the person who runs it is immunocompromised, and that's absolutely fine.
Yep.
Plus, you can just call it a masquerade and just have it be like technical masks, and that actually is fairly, of the stuff that is communicated, that is fairly well communicated.
Yes, that was very clear. Like, they had a thing outside the room itself that just had a bunch of masks if you turned up and didn't have one.
I do kind of wish they put it in a bigger room.
Yes.
For dancing. So we went to crazy ASS moments in Japanese history.
Ah, yes. So this panel was interesting.
It was interesting in a couple ways because it was in the plus 18 room. I didn't really find it that plus 18 generally. Like, maybe there was a little bit of violence, but
there was some mentions of some violence, and I think the host just wanted to be able to curse.
That's fair. And there wasn't anything else on at that time. It was plus 18, so it's fine.
There was also the anti-Semitism at the end.
Yeah, the anti-Semitism, I don't know if you should anyway.
When I say that, I basically mean he was talking about somebody in Japanese history who said some problematic things. The host himself was basically like, yeah, these are going to be some of the things that will be mentioned in this panel, so violence, this kind of stuff. Like, none of these things are okay, but they are things that happen, and it's important to talk about them sometimes.
Yeah. So this was done by Nate and his fellow SetsuCon staffers. SetsuCon is another con in Pennsylvania that I think might be considered like a sister con of Tekko. So for reference, I don't even know if sister con's actually a concept. It's a word I literally made up just now. But presumably, if they're allowed to promote that con here, they've got a good working relationship. Which is cool. It's a smaller con in Allentown, which I have looked at before. Allentown's harder to get to.
So we'll think about it.
It was where Luigi Mangione was arrested, though, so that's its claim to fame.
Nate.
Anyway, we want to quickly describe this because this will be our cutoff because this will be the end of Friday.
Yep. So basically, 3 stories from Japanese history. One from about the 700s, one from about the 1600s, and one from like the last century. Relating just some interesting things that have happened. So one was basically about a clan that got murdered. One was about some peasant rebellions that were led by like warrior Buddhist monks. And the last one was about the guy who brought McDonald's to Japan.
Yep.
It was a interesting bloke. Let's just leave it at that.
It was a very fun history panel. I could tell that he did his own research. He had sources for it. It wasn't just somebody reading off a Wikipedia page, which is pretty awesome. I would encourage him in the future. Again, I am somebody who lectures to do a little bit less reading and a little bit more talking verbatim if you can get to the point where you feel comfortable with doing that as a skill set.
Yeah.
And based on what he's learned, I think he is comfortable enough to kind of move to that next step where he's not just reading verbatim.
Yeah, just remember to download your slides because Google Slides sucks. Because the convention center Wi-Fi sucks, which meant that his slides are a bit uncooperative at times.
Also, if it's a choice between Netflix for a year and Word for a year, which costs or Microsoft Office for a year, which costs less than Netflix, I would encourage you to give up Netflix and get Microsoft Office. We are not sponsored, but it's just better in every way, shape, or form. In fairness, I get it for free.
Yeah. Again, joys of working for an educational institution. Actually, I'm still using my dad's family plan.
Why are you using your dad's family plan?
Because he was a... Okay. My dad got a PhD back, in computer science back when computers were this newfangled thing, which means he's actually done test work for Microsoft over the years, which means he's got basically free access for life.
Why don't you just give that to people that can't?
Because that would require giving them a bunch of passwords that I can't give them. But
his password is...
Don't even think about it.
I don't even know what it is. Yeah, you know that, right?
I know. But anyway. But yeah, it does mean that I, as part of that family plan, I do also get Microsoft Office for free. So I shouldn't judge. We don't know what your financial situation is.
No, again, if you can't afford Microsoft Office, I absolutely understand. I want to be clear about that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you can't afford it, it's $80 for a year subscription. If you do any type of work or research, I do think it's probably worth it, personally.
Yeah. So was that the last thing we did?
We briefly went to the PowerPoint.
Yes. So we kind of we swung by the safe for work version of the PowerPoint karaoke thing.
Which was in a kind of weird room.
Yes, it was in panel room 3, which was then like movement room.
Mm-hmm.
So they'd moved the chairs that were located around the edge into the middle so that they could do the panel.
Which is good.
But it did mean they had relatively little seating.
Yeah, there was not a lot of seating by the time we got there because we went there after the other thing ended. The room was pretty much full.
Yeah.
There were spaces you could stand up, so we just kind of stood at the back. We saw the first presentation, which was done by the friends of the person who was the great character actor from the previous night, who were he was recording them. He was so excited. It was adorable.
It was. We chipped in by asking a couple of questions.
Yeah, and they were doing a great job. And I do think 3 people or 2 people who know each other is the right way to do that panel.
Yes.
But keep in mind, it was 10 p.m. by this point.
Yep.
So when the second person volunteered and it was just one person, I was like, okay, it's a little bit harder for one person to pull this off. I want to be clear that maybe that person did an amazing job. We didn't see it.
Yep. Because again, at that point, we'd also been stood up for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a good point to tap out, head back to the Airbnb, get some rest, because we were planning to stay late on the Saturday night.
Which we did do, not quite as late as we wanted, but pretty late.
Yeah.
And it was still fun.
It was. So
we are currently approaching our house.
Yep.
The plan was to take the dog for a walk.
Yep.
I don't know if that's happening. Maybe it'll stop raining by the time we get there.
I mean, in all honesty, I'm gonna suggest we try. Oh, there's a deer. So yeah, so we're gonna briefly unload at least some of the stuff out of the car. Probably not too much.
There's 2 deer. There's a baby over there too.
Yay! Grab the pooch and then continue.
I am changing out of my ball gown.
Yes, that's probably a good call. So we will pause this recording briefly, and then we will return to talk about Saturday in a moment.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And we are back.
We're back.
And if you can hear the mysterious noise that we have acquired, our dog was very happy to see us. So she's all happy and panty.
Yep. Hopefully you don't mind dog pants as background noise.
Yep. Who's a good dog. So
yeah, we'll see if the weather holds for park taking.
Yep. It's looking a little drizzly, but again, who cares?
We have an umbrella in theory in the car somewhere.
It's in the con bag.
Okay. Always con prepared.
Yep. I'm pretty sure there's a second one somewhere back there. We went home, quickly got changed out of our costumes, and then basically just got back on the road to continue recording this and to take her for a walk.
Yeah, for reference, if we were a high quality podcast that had sponsors or something like that, that would probably have taken as long as our sponsor break would have.
Yeah. But we're not and we don't, so
I must stop licking the fidget things.
She's just excited.
She is. 4-day cons are hard on her because we do have a dog sitter. We're not just leaving her in the house unattended.
Yeah.
But she's very much our dog and doesn't like being away from us.
Yeah.
And we have taken her, if you've listened to this podcast, as a service dog to cons before, and she is trained, but it is still something for which it's a high intensity environment. It's not fun for her. And we don't really need her most of the time, so. We had some excellent service dogs this weekend.
We did. Those were some very good service dogs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Including one that sniffed my dress on Friday, actually.
Yep. The first one was just you got a dog? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll be wild. Yeah, for the record, it did it in a very respectful way.
Yeah, it was. And it was clear it was consenting to it. It wasn't doing anything that it wasn't supposed to.
Yeah. But yeah. Alright.
I'm just trying to get some, clean her up a bit.
Cool. Eye gunks.
Yes, but that's gross, so.
There are the ducks.
We should probably start getting back.
Yes, we should actually get back to the purpose of this podcast, which is talking about Tekko.
Okay, you're going to have to vamp for a minute because I got to take her.
Okay. So we went back to the Airbnb after that. Again, perfectly fine, firstly, functional Airbnb.
Getting out was relatively easy this time. It's definitely harder at Anthrocon.
Yeah.
And for reference of those 2 conventions, this one's about 2/3 the size of Anthrocon, I would say currently, although has a lot less people in fursuits.
Yes. Yeah. Plenty of costumes, don't get me wrong. They had a good percentage of cosplay at this con, but there's a difference in terms of the way you need to plan for anime costumes as opposed to how you need to plan for fursuits.
Yes.
And that's just because fursuits can't see a dang thing.
Yeah. I would say probably per person, there were actually probably more people in costumes because probably at least 90% of people at this con were in costumes, whereas like I think 60, 70 at Anthrocon were in costume. It's just the costumes were way more elaborate.
Yeah. But yeah. So again, we did see a lot of good costuming in this this con though. So then it was Saturday.
Yes.
Do you want to tell them what we did costume-wise on Saturday? This was the first day you threatened to murder me if I cried.
So we did Glinda and Elphaba, which are a popular franchise right now. This con did make me jealous of some people's like full face paint makeup skills. I'm not quite there yet, but in fairness, we need more high quality face paint. As evidenced by the fact that the tube of green we had, and I think we've used it twice so far, is now run out, or is close to running out in terms of being functional.
Yeah. No, 3 times.
Yeah.
So we basically, it's been used for 3 different cons and a test. And it ran out.
Yes.
And we did not realize it was anywhere near that low because, of course, it's a black tube.
Yeah, so I do think like the tube does go lower. It's just at a certain point because like it's not designed to take stuff out of the tube. It's harder to get it out because it won't twist further up. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone.
Yeah. And again, while I am the guy who's managed to use an entire chapstick, which as I understand it is an extremely bizarre thing.
It's very creepy.
Yeah.
Like he actually like spins that wheel on the tube of chapstick. It's terrifying.
It was one of those things that like getting halfway through applying your green makeup and realizing that there's not much left.
Yeah, it was stressful.
Yep.
And this was like the 6th mildly small stressful thing, and I was just Yeah.
Well, we managed to make it work. In fact,
did.
I think it held up better that day than.
I'm still trying to figure out how to apply it. I still think we need to do something that's a little bit stronger in terms of staying on generally.
I think one of the keys was just I did not. Once I put the witch's hat on, I did not take it off all day, which I do worry about because, again, especially if we're near the front row, I do worry if I'm blocking the view of the people behind me. But like taking it on and off has just proved it just kind of ruins the top part of the makeup.
So yeah, there was that. There was also the person who was like, because like, it takes me about an hour to put that stuff on, and I was getting kind of frustrated that day. And there was somebody who was somehow taking their trash out the entire time I was putting it on, which was kind of impressive.
Yeah. But I don't think it was the entire time. I think there was like 10 minutes at the start when they weren't, but
Yeah, I don't know how that takes 50 minutes. I'm very confused by that, but you do you.
Maybe they were like carefully placing one piece of trash at a time in their can before they took it out.
For reference, we could only hear this, weren't looking at it, so it's just that standard sound of like
clattering bins.
Yeah, you can tell what it is because it has a very distinct sound and everyone's heard it before, but
Who's a pretty baby.
So we did that. We did also have another snafu getting ready in terms of like this is a fairly minor element of my costume, but my crown broke.
Yep. Yeah, you just have a little like basic kind of headband thing with some stars on, which again I think you freely admit you got for like $8 off Amazon. Yeah,
it's not expensive. It was very clearly cheaply glued on because like most metal crowns, you have to bend it to get it on your head. Just pretty normal stuff, and the glue just went on the top part of it.
Yeah. Which again, minor inconvenience because again, it's not a particularly important part of the costume. But again, our nerves were frayed and all kinds of crap. But we did decide, screw it, we'll take it to cosplay repair. We'll see if they can help.
Yeah. So first we did stop by a panel briefly. I don't think we stayed terribly long because it wasn't really for us.
Yeah, that was Necromancy of Dead Phantoms, wasn't it? Which was described as a game show.
Yeah. There were a couple of things in the game show room this weekend that I wouldn't really qualify as game shows. And because I do think the game shows are competing for space, I want to spread them out a little bit. Like, just because something is a game doesn't necessarily mean it's a game show.
Yes.
But I will say we submitted panels this week, or for Tekko that didn't wind up getting accepted, which again, fine. And like, there are like drop downs of stuff, and like I think if game show is the closest thing to what it was, that's just what people put it in as, even though some stuff is like not a game show, but also not really anything else.
Yeah.
So
the
which doesn't make it bad, I want to emphasize. It just means it falls into a category where it's not easily contained.
Yeah. So the basic principle of this particular panel was, you came up to the front and they basically got people to queue, whereas I would have just like had them stick up their hand and called them one at a time. But that's me. And then you basically went up, talked about the fandom that you like that is kind of dead, and why it should come back, and then the audience would vote on like whether or not the fandom should come back or not. Perfectly okay, but they did seem to be a general assumption that like you would know the fandom.
Yeah, they didn't have people like do what I would do, which is explain what the fandom is and why you like it. Because we've been to panels like this before that are basically pitching panels of just like, explain your favorite thing, or debate panels where like two people have seen it and they explain it and debate it. It's just people like talking about it, and then the assumption that everyone knows, which is an assumption that anime I think kind of tends to make sometimes, which is a bit unfair, just because,
as we mentioned previously, there is literally more anime than you can watch in your life. Good job, Emma.
So again, we were kind of having kind of a frazzled morning anyway, just because the makeup took a while and I was worried about the crown and stuff like that. But we had popped our heads into cosplay repair earlier, and cosplay repair is just its full own room there. Like, it's a room on the 4th floor that is as big as any of the panel rooms.
Bigger than most of them.
Yeah. I didn't really see all into it the day before, because I think I was trying to get a picture with somebody the day before, and they went in that direction. I didn't want to like rudely stalk them into cosplay repair, because it's not a place where anyone wants to take a picture.
No,
so.
we basically just briefly stuck our head in to see if they were in there. They weren't. But that did at least mean we knew where the space was.
Yes.
So at this point, we basically decided, okay, we'll go to cosplay repair. We'll see what it, see if it'll help.
And for reference, cosplay repair at different cons varies wildly.
Yep.
Like sometimes it's just a table. Sometimes it's just like a space where you can repair your cosplay, but they don't give you anything to do it with.
Sometimes it's a table with like one guy and and a few resources. This room had, I think, 4 or 5 people in it who are actively like walking around helping people.
Yep.
So I initially tried hot glue to reattach it. Didn't work. They were like, okay, did that work? No. Okay, here's some super glue. Try that. Tried that. Didn't work. They then were like, okay, be a minute. And they came back with some full-on like no more nails epoxy stuff. And we're like, okay, this will take like 16 hours to fully cure. I was like, okay, cool. So I stuck that on, then like gave us a couple of clips to like hold it in place while it's stuck, and I was like, okay, I'll bring the clips back later. And they're like, no, you're fine, just keep them. I cannot overstate how good a job the people in that room were doing.
There was a full station just devoted to wigs. They had head and busts there. People were just not even bringing wigs they were wearing, just old wigs that like needed to be revived, to like have somebody brush through them. Their entire teams just working on these wigs. They had sewing machines with people set up. At a previous con, I think last year, my dress tore. I legitimately think if that had happened at this con, they would have just sewed at the hem, because it was just a minor hem seam. We didn't get it fixed. It wasn't a part fix. But like, I think they straight up would have just sewn that hem back on without my like even having to get out of the dress.
So yeah, like, this was a phenomenal cosplay repair space. Whoever was responsible for that, you were doing the Lord's work.
Yeah, because with me, and I think probably most other people who cosplay, when your cosplay breaks, it's just heartbreaking and can ruin your day. So having a room just devoted to people who were trying to make stuff work was great. And it was also extremely popular. Like, we were not the only people in there. And there were a few people with like simple fixes like us who were just using glue and stuff like that. And there are people who had clearly been in there since the con opened that morning, which wasn't that long at that point, but even spending 30 minutes just having a staff member work on your stuff and just be devoted to like making your wig look better, that is really awesome. So hats off to all those volunteers.
Yeah, you were doing great work.
Yeah.
That actually really, really helped, like, just having somebody be that helpful and gave a damn. I'm tearing up slightly thinking about it, because again, like,
you cried at everything?
I cried at everything, and our emotions were shot that morning.
Remember the couch that we bought?
Yes.
And everyone else passed it over, and it had been in the store for so long, and no one wanted it.
So we bought it, and it was a good little couch. You remember that couch, don't you, Emma?
Yes, Emma jumped on it and slapped on it.
But anywho, yeah, so hats off to the cosplay repair room team. You were doing great.
And then I think we wandered the vendors hall for a bit. Our friends, Pop Culture Choreography and Wetlands Ninja, were there today. They were just there Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
But they were in masquerade rehearsal that morning, which started at 10 and went till 2.
Yep, because Pop Culture was doing the masquerade this year, which we did 2 years ago, and we were tempted to enter this one, but one, we don't actually have a new routine, and two, it takes most of your day on Saturday if you want to be in that show. Like, they do a full blood rehearsal where you can talk to the AV team, you can talk to the tech team. Like, if you want specific lighting for your performance, you can arrange that with them. You can, like, they do phenomenal work to make sure it's a good show, but it does mean it's going to be most of your day.
It's okay, Emma. You got scared because we went over a bump.
That's fair.
It's okay.
Sorry, Emma, that's just lousy road maintenance.
I do think it is something for which, just because it does take so long, Bridget / Pop Culture Choreography was lucky insofar as she had an early call time. Emma did the thing where she put her head under your hands, you keep petting her.
Yeah, you stop petting her and she just like shoves her head under your hand. It's great.
So she got out relatively early, but because they don't have specific call times, if you had a late one, you just had to be there at 10, and I think we're stuck there till 2.
Which again, like, one change I might suggest making to them is just have specific call times for the rehearsals.
Yeah, again, most people understand, like, if you're running like 15 minutes behind when they say you should be there, but for construction competitions, they give you really specific time slots, and I think they should probably start doing that for masquerades as well. You're going to have rehearsal just to make sure that everyone gets there.
Yeah. You know, just so it's not taking up the entirety of your con day, basically. So, what do we do next?
We went to an incredibly interesting informational panel. Oops, all pigeons. Look at our slender feathered friends. This was a panel about pigeons.
Yep.
That was the panel.
Yeah.
It was an incredibly well-researched panel about people who own pigeons, and they brought anime in and they talked about pigeons. We got to see a pigeon give a high five in a video.
It was great. And they talked about some of the British war pigeons.
Yep.
Who, no joke, there is a pigeon that has the animal equivalent of the what's it called, the Royal Victoria Cross. Yeah, which is one of the highest awards for valor you can get as a British soldier. There's a pigeon who's got the animal equivalent of one of those.
If you think they only live 3 years, not so. They live, I think, 8 to like 12 or something like that, or I think 20 even.
Yep. They do if they're well looked after.
Yes.
You know, in the wild, they do tend to die a bit younger.
And they also don't have a sphincter, which means that they poop everywhere.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing for me to say because it's my first. I don't know. I'm not really grateful for the fact that we have sphincters very often. I probably should be.
Yep. It's one of those things you don't really think about, but thank goodness we evolved. Oh, God.
So thank you for that panel for making me grateful for the fact that I have a sphincter.
So yeah, that was great. Oh, no, we didn't talk about it.
What?
I was trying to remember if we talked about the costumes, but yeah,
Yes,
we did mention the fact that we're Glinda and Elphaba.
Yep. And we both have sphincters, so you know.
Yeah.
So after that, we were trying to meet up with Bridget and James / Culture Choreography and Wetlands Ninja.
We're just going to keep calling them Bridget and James from now on because they've given us permission to use their actual names on this podcast.
And they've been on this podcast, so it's fine.
They have.
This was mostly an excuse to kind of just wander around the vendors hall because we were both, I think, supposed to be in there. And then they got food, and then by the time they got food, we were already off to our next panel, so we kind of missed it. I'm not bitter about this; it just happens. So. Yeah.
Again, especially with a con of this size, sometimes just like actually finding each other and getting together is trickier than you think it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So what was our next panel? Was that Rate My Waifu? Or
I don't know. I think so. Let me double check. Sorry. As I've mentioned,
I know it was because I messaged James to tell him that's where we were.
Okay. So yes, we were at Rate My Waifu, which is the same as Rate My Husbando, except with waifus.
Yeah. Defend.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, good. I also called it Rate.
Yes. What is titled Rate My Waifu, it just actually should probably be titled Defend My Waifu. Because there was another panel called Rate My Waifu later that was actually I did not title any of these panels. It's a bit confusing, but they do all have descriptions that are easily clickable.
Yes. So. And these were very different panels, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, so again, same exact principle as the Husbando panel. A bunch of randomly assigned waifus, defend them. You know, other person has to say why they suck, etc., etc., etc. A lot of fun. Our names didn't get pulled for this one. I do think so. My name got pulled in the furry category the day before, and I made a big show of it. God dang it! Why did it have to be the furries? I did hear the person pulling the names be like mildly disappointed when she pulled the two names for the furry category. I think on some level she was kind of hoping I got it again, but for the record, we were very happy just being in the audience for this one. Like, getting to do this once is always fun.
Yeah, and I'm happy to give it to other people. I think a couple people did get to go twice, random draw, but a lot of new people were there, and that's great. So and we got to watch somebody be very enthusiastic about having a dinosaur girl.
Yeah, he pulled an anime character he didn't know, so he did the thing that a lot of people who do this panel do if they get someone they don't know. He did a quick Google during the break between round 1 and 2. And found out she was like part dinosaur. Who was that? Was that like 02?
I'm not gonna know. Don't ask me.
Yeah, and he was just like super happy to find that out. It was great.
And yeah, that was a blast. It's always fun to watch that. And we pretty much stayed in that room for the next few hours. The masquerade / cosplay clown, as they would call it, something different type thing was going on at that point in time.
Yep.
But
we did briefly consider going in, but we ended up not, largely in part because there were other panels we wanted to see, and the masquerade at Tekko is 3 hours long. That's the longest of any version of it I'm aware of.
Yeah, Colossal Con is also 3 hours long.
Is it? I thought it was only 2.
I'm pretty sure it was 3. I had a migraine though during that. And that's just a lot of time to commit at a con when you can also see stuff in hallways, and also I don't really care who wins a lot. So,
like, we like watching the show. It's just we enjoy seeing the performances and the costumes and all of that jazz. Who wins? Mostly we don't care because we usually disagree with the judges.
And we also don't know what the performances are going to be like. I will say at Tekko they tend to be pretty diverse, and we did catch the awards later, so we do know at least some skits. So. Yeah. I'm hoping it'll be recorded, so I might be able to see some later.
Yeah, I think they were recording, but I'm not sure.
So we went to Are You Nerdier Than a Game Show host with Fusion Games.
Yep. And Fusion Games was another group that was running multiple different things throughout the weekend.
They have a very interesting points-based system where you can win XP by competing in their games or helping, and then you can trade that XP in for prizes later. Which apparently some people have been following them for a while because somebody traded in tickets from previous cons they were at because they had 30 XP points.
Yeah, they had enough to get some of the top tier prizes, and one of the XP vouchers he handed back was apparently the first generation of them from 4 years ago.
Go that person for saving that long.
Yep, good on them.
Also, go men for having wallets and not ever having to take stuff out and just being able to keep them in there indefinitely. Except for condoms, you really shouldn't keep those in there that long.
We are not a safe sex podcast, but at the same time, check the expiry dates on your prophylactics, guys.
So Are You Nerdier Than the Game Shows is interesting. It's definitely a very...
So we had a couple of issues with this one.
Yeah.
So the basic premise of this is you get 2 teams, one of which is the panelists, and one of which is 3 people drawn from the audience. And they used a random number generator system where basically, if you wanted to participate, they handed you a card that was clearly originally intended to help teach children numbers, but that's fine. And that card had a number between 1 and however many were in the box. I think it might have been 100. And then that was just your number, and then they just used a random number generator to, pull the appropriate number. And they knew, because they had the numbers ordered, they knew that if they were up to number 53, then they set their random number generator to choose between 1 and 52. Simple, easy, straightforward, worked fine. So panel of 3, and then it was just a case of the audience would ask the questions. So this worked in theory.
I think it would have worked if there was a debriefing about how to write trivia questions. So as a game show and trivia enthusiast, I understand the trick to write questions, which is the thing about trivia is it's fun if people can answer. Like, and the problem with anime nerds, as well as all other types of nerds really, is they really like showing that they have knowledge that nobody else in the room has.
Yeah.
And that's fine for like showing off, but it's not really great for writing trivia questions. Trivia questions you want to be answerable. You want people in the room to be able to answer them. The way I was kind of trying to explain it to Richard earlier was like, if you're writing a trivia question, your goal shouldn't be to show how you have more knowledge than everyone else. It's like your favorite special thing. It should be to find who your friends in the room are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what question would you ask people to like see if they liked the same things you like? That's the type of trivia question you should be writing.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
And if you're talking about anime in particular, because anime is a pulp genre and people haven't seen a lot of anime, you don't want to ask, and we got a lot of these of like, what happened in arc 3 of this anime series, or name all 4 of the Greek gods that are represented in this particular series that each show up for like an episode each. Try like, what's the protagonist of this fairly obscure anime series? That's an answerable question.
Yeah. You know, like I threw out a curveball relating to Doctor Who. Specifically, I asked who was the first woman to play the Doctor on screen, which
was too difficult.
Yes, it was.
But it was still easier than most of the other ones that were being lobbed.
And for the record, the reason it's difficult is it's a trick question. There's an answer everybody was like. Here's the thing: I was expecting the panelists to give me, or I was expecting the people to be able to give me Jodie Whittaker, so I could get them in the old no, because it's actually not. I'm not going to give you the answer on this one. You can Google it yourself if you care that much.
Well, the thing is, they were already anime nerds, and they knew it was a trick question to begin with. I asked what color are Dorothy's slippers in the Wizard of Oz book, since we were dressed as characters from Wicked.
Yep.
They're silver, not ruby. Like, a tenth of the room knew that.
Yes.
And that was about the level that trivia should be pitched at. None of the panelists happened to know it, but...
Again, a decent chunk of the room could answer that, and they were throwing the questions to the room if the panel couldn't get them.
Whereas there were some questions that no one else in the room could answer, and like the person who answered or came up with the question looked proud about that fact, which is fine, but it's just like, that's not trivia.
Yeah. Like, I was hoping somebody would know about Curse of the Fatal Death, because it's funny. But,
I do think at least one person in the audience knew, so, but...
Yeah.
Again, trivia is meant to be kind of more community-based, and that's why, like, when you're crowdsourcing trivia, it can be a little bit more difficult because you're not playtesting it, as I mentioned before, anime trivia is hard. That said, I did feel like the host had good energy.
They did. And again, they knew how to play off the fact that they were getting most of the questions wrong as a comedy rather than, being infuriating for anybody.
But this was, like, 15 rounds of questions. They had special powers that they didn't really wind up using at all.
Yeah, it was a bit weird.
Because they had one that was just like ask the audience, so everyone used that one. They had one where it was like 1 versus 1, where you could go head to head with somebody, which I think would have worked had any of the questions been easy and had any of them had more than one person know them. And they had a skip, but that really wasn't even a power because like it just meant you were asked a different question.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, perfectly functional in theory. I think it's mostly just a case of warn the audience of the kind of questions you need to be giving. But I believe we at that point stayed in the room for
Actually, which I by the same group, and I think this one went much better.
Mm.
So Actually, as you probably know, if you're a nerd, because only
nerds watch Actually.
Yeah, there's no way that only nerds also only listen to this.
Yeah. But yeah, Actually is a game show that's a relatively recent creation. I say relatively recent, it's like 5 or 6 years old at this point, by Dropout TV. And the basic premise of Actually is there is nothing nerds love more than correcting other nerds.
Yep.
So you are given a statement about some kind of nerdy property. In this case, they were mostly anime focused. That statement will have an error in it. You have to buzz in, say, Actually, and tell them where the mistake is and what the correction is.
Yep. And they also have shiny questions, which are just random, like, things. And they're ridiculously involved, but each only one worth 1 point. And they did a really good job of pacing this. They had questions that I think were about pitched at the right level. Rebecca, the owner or original founder of Tekko, was one of the featured panelists, because they did bring in featured panelists for this one.
Yes. They had 2 featured panelists, and then a third person wasn't available last minute. So they pulled somebody from the audience for that, which is fine.
Which is fine. I do wish they had time for a second game just for audience polls. But it's still, they made the game fun to watch, which is all I really want.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch. Questions were guessable. They were pitched at the right level, and it generally was. It's just a good time. It's a fun trivia game. It's fun to write. It works in a bunch of different formats. It's a great con game. I love it every time I see it.
And again, you can usually figure out what's wrong with the statement, even if you have to do it by process of elimination.
Yeah.
Because eventually you've run out of parts of the statement that you've been told are correct. And again, one of the questions was a Doctor Who themed one, and they remembered me from the previous panel. Like, okay, what's the right answer? Which of course I did know.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that was that one worked really quite well. I think they had the questions pitched at about the right level. There were some that the panelists couldn't answer, but that's okay.
And some that went to the audience, but they were all kind of fun and silly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if I can remember any of the shiny questions.
I do remember some of them being interesting. So there was one shiny question that was like,
match the anime to the power system. I remember that one.
And the other one was what is the anime based on the intro music?
Yep. And they did kind of a full audience round afterwards because they didn't have time to do a full one. So.
Yeah.
But again, it was cute. It was fun. Like game shows like that a lot, and I like that this con had a lot of game shows. So after that, we caught the back half, sort of the masquerade. We mostly caught the halftime show and judging.
Yeah, so we basically wandered over there because at this point the show was supposed to be about done. So we figured we'd meet up with Bridget and James. We did actually see Bridget outside.
Yeah.
James was busy searching for his wallet, which he'd lost.
Yep. Glad to know we weren't the only people who were a little scatterbrained this weekend.
Yep. He did find it again for the record.
It was in the couch cushions where he was sitting.
Yeah.
Or chair cushions.
Yeah. Classic.
Yep.
But
it's fine. We've all been there. We were there this weekend with various things.
Yeah.
So the seating, because this was the first time we were in main events pretty much at all, and we were commenting on the fact that it seemed like main events generally this weekend was kind of underutilized. There were a couple concerts there, but we're not really concert goers, so this was the first thing we would have had any interest to be in main events for.
Yeah.
It was interesting insofar as there weren't chairs at the back of the room. It was just kind of an open area back there.
Again, I think it's mostly just a case of they only had so many chairs, and based on comment of the feedback panel, it's just a case of they underestimated how many chairs they were actually going to need in there, and those chairs are expensive.
That's fair. I don't know how much, because they mentioned that being an issue generally. I don't know if it was ever actually an issue in terms of people's ability to sit down. It would probably depend on how popular the previous panels were.
Yes.
Because there were some people sitting at the back. There were clearly chairs available.
Yeah.
It was kind of hard for us to see when we walked in because obviously the room was dark. But they had a stage and 2 projector screens, so even if you were in the back, you could see on the projector screens.
Yeah, which was good. Yeah, so we watched the what turned out to actually be the last act of the masquerade.
And keep in mind, this has been going for 3 hours at this point. And we don't know how many there are. I suspect more than 50.
Yes, there was about 50 2 years ago when we competed. I don't know if they capped the number of entries.
I don't think they did. So we caught that. We caught a halftime show that was weirdly half a musical that somebody wrote, which is very creative about being a college girl that got trapped in an anime plot or something like that. We're talking to Bridget and James, so I was vague on the details. The singing was good. They clearly wrote the whole thing themselves, and they were performing the rest of it at the whole stage next day, which they mentioned in the thing a lot. It was cute. And lasted 20 minutes.
Yeah. It's not a short halftime show.
Yeah.
And again, if you've already been in the room for 3 hours, because that did mean that when the judges came, when the judges were ready to go once the halftime show was over, which is actually kind of nice. Frequently you see at a con the judges are not ready.
And I think they had a break earlier, Bridget was implying, just because the judges, I think, needed a break from judging, just because there were so many performance contestants.
But, it did mean that they rattled through the awards at Mach 3.
Yeah, particularly the construction awards, which they just referred to as the Hull cosplay contest, which I don't really like when they call the construction competition a Hull cosplay contest. I get that it's a Hull in the sense that it's prejudged and you do that in a Hull.
Mm-hmm.
But Hull cosplay to me just reads
the stuff you see walking around.
Yeah, not stuff that's been meticulously crafted.
Yeah.
I would say construction rather than Hull. Because I've also seen Hull cosplay competitions just be stuff that people have seen walking around.
Yeah.
And it's weird for me because I generally do prefer performance over construction at competitions. It was weird for me to see the construction like so sidelined.
Yeah, normally at most cons it feels like the construction contest is the big one and the performance
It's kind of just
category.
an afterthought. Like half the time they have the construction competition judging performance, despite the fact that they don't know anything about performance as an art. Whereas this one they had separate judges and performance was given like center stage most of the time.
Yeah.
James was saying that as he was there, they didn't even have for construction people walking across one at a time. There were multiple people on the stage at once in costume.
Yeah, they would basically call you up, you'd do your first pose, and pretty much around the time you got to like the second mark, because as with most ones, it was, walk up, 3 poses at 3 different marks on the stage, walk off, fine. But they were pretty much by the time you hit the second mark, they were calling the next person up. So you were having 2 to 3 people on the stage at once, which doesn't feel great if you're in that position, because you kind of want that moment of recognition and showing off your cool costume.
Yeah, it's for a lot of people what that moment's about. Because again, most of these costumes won't win anything, so giving them that moment on stage is really important for them.
Yeah.
And for when they called judging, they didn't even get all the way on the stage. They just kind of stood in like the left half of the stage for one quick picture when they got their award, and then went back off.
Yep. So yeah, I did feel a little bad for them.
Mm-hmm.
And as I say, it was interesting to see one where the focus was flipped that way.
Yeah.
Because then the performance judges came out, and again, they talked a little bit about each
They at
one.
least explained stuff that, like, construction judges didn't explain anything.
No. But again, I think they were told, lickety-split, you got to move.
Yeah.
Because by this point, the show had already overrun its time slot by a good, solid 25 minutes. And there was supposed to be something starting at 7.
The fashion show, yeah.
Fashion show.
And it's also worth noting that we didn't see a lot of people leave by the time the halftime show started. Definitely some people have, but when we sat down in the audience, the only people that were there were the contestants and people who were friends of the contestants.
Yeah.
Like, it was not very full.
Which again, I think it's a long show.
Yeah.
Like,
And you did have one like really loyal group of people who clearly loved this in the front row who were cheering the entire time. Go that group of people.
Yeah.
But other than that, no one I think had the patience for it.
Yeah. Which again, I feel bad about, because having done that masquerade, a couple of years ago, it's one of the best from a performer standpoint.
Yeah. And I still think it is. I like that they're an inclusive masquerade that let in a lot of performances and let performances be the star. But I do think if they want to be that inclusive, it might be time to separate those two events.
Yeah, I'm thinking at this point you need to split your construction contest out from your
and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a hard split. You could have one right after the other. Just have them as separate time slots on the schedule.
Yeah, so that people know to kind of go to, people who are more focused on one can go to that, and people who are more focused on the other can go to
just
that.
have people come in and out of the room, because a lot of people will stay for the two. And it was not crowded when we were in there. It might have been at the beginning of it, but...
Yeah, and again, part of the reason we didn't go is just we did not want to deal with the queuing outside.
Well, I also felt bad for the people who were in construction who, walked across the stage presumably at 2 p.m. and then were stuck in there until 6 p.m. to hear whether or not their name was called.
Yeah.
I get being supportive of performance cosplay, but that seems like a lot to ask to people, particularly since I can't imagine some of those costumes are comfortable to be in for that long.
Yeah. So yeah, I think our recommendation on that one would just be to split those two events.
Mm-hmm.
Again, at a smaller con, having them be one event makes complete sense. It's perfectly fine. But you're a big enough convention at this point that the show itself is taking too long with them both being combined.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know exactly how you would do that, but I think it's a thing you might want to consider.
And we can't really comment on the judging. We weren't there for any of it. It was cool that some skits won. Some people seemed irritated with it. That's all par for course in cosplay. Some people like how it's
ever
judged.
happy with the judging.
And some people will like it. Generally, the people who won. Generally, the people who won't will not. Everyone will say that everyone's still supporting everyone else, even though they complain about them behind their backs. It's all its own thing.
It's perfectly normal and fine and healthy.
It's just one of those things where I think it is a hard stakes experience to be judged like that, which is, again, why I don't know that that's always the best way to celebrate cosplay.
Yeah, I freely admit, we personally prefer a showcase rather than a competition. Just give these people
We've
the
given this
opportunity.
rant like 6 times. I don't think we need to do it again.
That's fair. We do this rant a lot. It's mostly just a case of we don't feel like the competition element adds anything. It could just be a performance showcase.
Well, it's like one of the things that I found interesting was just like the people who were running the performance aspect were just like, well, if you wanted to be on stage, what's stopping you? And I have very good answers to that. One, I don't want to waste all day Saturday doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I don't really want to be like judged. I just kind of want to perform.
Yeah.
Is there a way for me to do that in a way that takes less time and that I don't have to be like competing against people who have like professional singing and dance training? If I just want to tell a story on stage.
So again, I'm sure that the show itself was excellent because again, like we've seen what that looks like from the other side.
We do, and it is nice to see performance like shine as a category.
Yes, it is.
I'm happy that Tekko's doing that. It just would be nice if it is a little bit more time efficient for people who want to watch, and that construction got their own moment too.
Yeah. Or if you're going to make it just show that long, have a little intermission or something. Yeah. Like it's okay. People aren't going to be annoyed if you say, okay, this is a 20-minute break. Go to the bathroom. Check your phones, whatever.
I also realized that Tekko really only sells 3-day badges. There's nothing to really stop you from having like multiple competitions on different days and then just having like a finals on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. That's also true. So yeah, again, I think there are ways to fix the problems it does have. It's just, yeah. But again, can we talk briefly about the line outside of it before?
Yeah, the line outside of it was interesting.
Yes.
So we didn't go in the line because I was stressed out even going near it. And to be clear, I don't even think the competition wound up getting that full.
Don't think so.
So what do you want to say about it?
It's mostly just a case of one, we were unclear if there was any kind of ADA access. If there was, I suspect it was another one where it was just combined with the VIP line, which is not great. And two, I appreciate you having the full-on, like, switchy back and forth things, but that does mean that, for somebody with your disability.
Yeah, there were actual, like, rails and stuff up, which is at least more coherent than lines on the floor. But at the same time, one, it means it's hard for anyone in cosplay to get between those sections because they were pretty narrow, or in a wheelchair to get between those sections. Like, I don't think you could fit them through some.
Nope.
Which I think is why I saw a couple wheelchair users in the premium line, which, again, valid, but, like, that should have been thought about.
Yeah.
And somebody like me who, like, I might need to get somewhere really quickly. I can't be in a space like that. It's dangerous.
Yeah. So again, that's just another thing that your ADA coordinator might want to think about.
Yeah. And I get that lines in general are hard because I also don't like them when they're like lines on the floor either. And generally, I just think lines should not exist.
Yeah, we generally prefer it if you just open the space and let people go in and out of their own volition.
Which, for the most part, this con does do. And I do get for Masquerade setup it being a little more difficult because you need to wrangle all the contestants into the correct order, and that's harder when people are there.
Yeah, that's something that them having the space to do that beforehand does kind of help. But again, we're in the wonderful world of no easy solutions.
Yeah. And it's easier to complain than it is to find solutions.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So after that, we attempted to hang out with Bridget and James, which more just became us hanging out beside Bridget and James, because different people came up to both of us to just talk.
Yeah.
Which was kind of awesome.
Again, very, very friendly con atmosphere at this one.
Because Bridget was talking to some people who competed in Masquerade or saw her at Masquerade. We were talking to just people who saw us at the con earlier. So yeah, we kind of just hung out next to them while that was happening.
Yeah, we had a bit of a chat, and they kind of went off to vaguely get some food. And again, I think this is something we do want to criticize the David Lawrence Convention Center for, is just your food offerings are not great. They're very overpriced.
They're overpriced. You won't let anyone bring anything else in. That's not Tekko's fault. And Tekko, I don't think gets a lot of choice of venues if they want to stay in Pittsburgh and have that many people. So
yeah, I get. Based on a comment that we heard, I think at one point in the past, Tekko was doing food in their VIP lounge, and they got told off for it.
Yeah.
Because again, the convention center has some kind of exclusivity contract that only one company's allowed to provide food in the venue. So this is all the kind of behind the scenes stuff that you generally don't find out about. But Tekko is a very open con that tries to let you understand what's going on, which I very much appreciate.
Good job, Emma.
Caroline's hand is currently getting groomed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very important Emma job.
Emma, you're very cute. You know that. What do you think of the con, Emma?
Go away from me. It sucked. Yeah, as with anybody who owns a dog, we have a voice we use when we're speaking for her.
Yep. You
developed it before I arrived, and I adopted it quite easily because it fits her down to a T.
After this, we did cosplay dating game, which we did. We got early seating for, and it was a good thing we did because that room was packed at least when it started.
Yes, that room was completely chocker right at the beginning because that was in one of the workshop rooms.
So for reference, at cons, workshop rooms generally mean table. It means that there's a table in front of you as opposed to just regular seating, because in a workshop room you will be doing probably something that requires a table.
Yeah.
Like making a puppet.
Yeah.
Or a duck thing.
Whoa. But yeah.
Yeah, we saw a duck at the con, which we of course took a photo with, like a person dressed as a duck, not a duck.
Mm-hmm.
And they were telling us how they did how to make a duck whistle in one of the workshop rooms earlier.
Yeah, so again, it's a space that can be used for crafting your stuff, which is great, but it does mean it's got less actual seating in the room.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty popular panel because cosplay dating is always a fun panel to go to, and despite what Animate thinks, it's a joke.
Yeah. Like, they did put that on the screen, which I do appreciate for anyone who's like new to cosplay dating game. Like, one of the first things they put on the screen for the rules is understand that this is a joke. And
yes.
No one had any problem understanding that it was a joke.
Yeah, like, the most you're getting out of your date at the end of the dating game is a hug, a handshake, a high five. We saw all three of those.
Yep.
And like one of the pairs wanted to get a photo together. That's the extent of the the connection you're making.
I will say this is probably the best in terms of just people clearly playing as their character. Like, everyone who was up there was clearly role playing as their character, and you could tell that they all loved their character.
Yes.
That was awesome.
That was great to see. Like, I do very much enjoy it when that happens.
My only real critique is they did have a lot of pre-selected questions, and because again, cosplay dating game, there's 3 eligible bachelor or bachelorettes, and there's 1 eligible bachelor asking questions to those eligible bachelor and bachelorettes. Also, this is gay, like, it's just gay. We're not going to segregate people based on gender, nor should we.
Yeah, they basically said, if you have a problem with the fact that some of the people answering your questions are going to be the same gender as you might want to sit this panel out.
Yeah. Which again is fine. No one wants to control for that, and no one cared.
Nobody cares, which was the appropriate level.
They do have pre-selected questions. They actually had quite a lot, which I did like that they had a lot. I just also like that giving the chance of the people who are asking questions to ask their own questions in character, just to make it a bit more fun.
Yeah, like, I think the balance for that would have been have that bag of pre-prepared questions, and they quite literally just had like a bag that you put your hand in and you drew one out of. Which works pretty well for like getting those random questions.
Yeah.
But I would have made it a case of the bag is there as an option if you want it, or you can just make up your own questions in character.
Yeah.
Up to you.
I would turn the lights on.
Yeah, that's probably a good call. Because that would have just given people the option if they wanted it. Don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I'm similar. I do think you should have the option, just because some people do struggle to come up with questions. I don't think that group would have, honestly. Everyone did a pretty good job answering questions. Like that. So it was a lot of fun.
The only real major problem they had was some people had costumes that made it quite difficult for microphones to get near their mouths.
Yeah, there's a lot of lifting up of fursuit helmets, and somebody was a power guy or whatever it was from SpongeBob, all of which was great.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And you got a very great and apt question because you were Elphaba.
And the question that came out of the bag was, what is your biggest green flag in a relationship? Which got a cheer out of the audience that I think confused the person who couldn't see me. But again, like, that's kind of half the fun of the fact that one person obviously can't see anything, because they did say they would use blindfolds if necessary, but they just haven't
turn a chair around. That's pretty normal for stuff. And like, it doesn't really actually matter that much. Like, half the times, if you know the characters, you can guess who they are. Like, as Glinda, I was being incredibly obvious with my answers.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if I was being obvious enough as Elphaba, but
It doesn't really matter. Like, it's silly fun. The point is to roleplay in character. Like, that's the entire point of the game.
yeah. Which again was fun.
It's okay, Emma. Your walk's looking suspect now, though.
Yeah, it's got a little rainy. We'll see. We passed through. We've passed through these storms before. We're lucky it might be a short one. But if not, you've had a fun car ride, Emma.
Yay, car ride. Should we stop recording?
No.
Okay.
I keep telling you, the microphones are actually surprisingly good at filtering this out.
Yeah, well, you're not an audio snob either.
True. Like, if I sent my dad this, he'd probably, disown me. But, it's fine. Not because of what we do, it's just he is an audiophile.
Yep.
Like, his hi-fi setup is his pride and joy.
I'll hi-fi your setup.
Promises.
Wow.
But, so yeah. And again, when those are like the most serious criticisms we can level at the panel,
we have gone to a lot of these panels now. Like, there are type of panels, and like the criticisms we have of these game show panels and like minor form are like extremely minor. We enjoyed all of these. If you happen to be one of these panelists who are listening, these are incredibly minor tips for how to run them. We still had a blast.
We had a great time, and again, mostly it's just we wanted to give the opportunity for the people in the chair to also play in character a little more. Nothing more than that. Like, I actually really think the bag of pre-selected questions, great idea for those who need them.
Yes, I think that's great too, because if you just have people you're in the headlights with it can be a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
It's okay, Emma. You love me?
Yes. What do we do after that?
Trying to find it. So this is another Rate Your Husbando Waifu panel. This was plus 18. The title actually has Your Husbando Waifu is S $, percentage sign, pound sign.
Yeah. So the basic principle of this one was very, very simple. This was the same group who did the talk on Japanese history.
Sasukan people, yes.
Yes. And this was pretty simple. This was, you shout out who your waifu is. They then call them, they then insult them.
Yep. And they did these all very rapid fire. They gave some examples, but they wanted to get to everyone because, of course, everyone in the room had one. So it mostly just turned into people looking at pictures of waifus or husbandos or just hot guys and girls and laughing.
Yeah. It was great. Again, it was about the vibe that
it's just
was
sometimes
warranted.
fun to just be in a room with people and just look at random pictures on Google Images and laugh.
Yep, and you got the biggest laugh of the room, or well, we did.
Mm-hmm.
It's your joke, but I was the one who got picked, so
It's not a joke. I feel passionately about this character. They are my favorite video game character, both ironically and unironically.
Okay. For anybody who wasn't in the panel, she picked the L-shaped Tetris block.
The L-shaped Tetris block is the most superior of all the Tetris blocks. You had to work very hard to bend your body into that angle in certain contexts.
Mm-hmm. So yes, that got a really good laugh out the audience because I know how to play up that particular gag. Insofar as being like, okay, this is my wife's favorite character. She's making me say this. Yep. And everybody's like, okay, which generic, anime pretty boy from Genshin Impact is it?
Uh-huh.
And then you bring out the L-shaped Tetris block gag, and
it works.
It works. It's not a gag you can overuse, because if people have heard it before, it's nowhere near as funny. But for sheer shock value, if they did not see that coming, it's great.
Yep.
Especially as the last time we did this panel, and or the last time we were at a similar panel, they had safe search on, and yet somehow when they Google the L-shaped Tetris block, they actually got
not safe for work.
They got some not safe for work stuff through the filter because it clearly wasn't tagged properly.
Because why would anyone search for that?
So yeah, that was great. That did not happen this time.
Yeah,
but
I think that photo has finally been tagged. 2 Tetris blocks doing things that Tetris blocks do.
Yep.
Which is fit together.
Yep. But yeah, so that was a fun panel. It was pretty light, pretty fluffy, pretty silly, but it was good. Anyhow, a lot of people got to have their favorite character slagged off. And we learned some stuff about some people.
We did. Well, I think after I said L-shaped Tetris block, people realized they could just do joke answers. So we got a lot. We went down a furry rabbit hole for a while. Yeah. No one else picked an inanimate object, though. I feel like that was underrepresented.
Yeah. I mean, is it inanimate? Anyway. Yeah. But yeah, so that was that panel. It was good. It was well run. They did have a few technical difficulties because, again, the convention center Wi-Fi kind of sucks.
Not on the con.
Not on the con. One thing he did have was like he'd clearly prepped for a bunch of the classic answers to waifus because he had it. You know, he did have it. He did start it with a slideshow before switching over to Google Images. Once people started shouting out the specific ones, but he had a bunch of slides prepped for like specific characters that if people called them, he could be like, "Ha! You have activated my trap card."
Yeah. Like he had Yor from Spy Family, which is a very classic one. I think she's kind of she's too tropey. I kind of judge people who yeah, it's fine. And she was the one who won at Sengawa Project.
Yeah, because you would. Well, no, it was you.
You were arguing.
I was arguing for her.
It's just we were the last two, and she was the more popular character at that point.
Yep. Oh, you had. What was her name?
Ray or something.
Yeah, from Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
But again.
But I like that we went through some of the ones you could just like have special like trap cards for. It was a cute group, good vibes. I will say the acoustics on the mics was a little bit lacking. Another extremely minor criticism. It was just hard to hear what they were saying in certain time periods. And part just because the room was extremely loud.
Yes, so. I definitely do think they were having a few mic problems kind of throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
The AV team was working. Like no shade or criticism on the AV team. I think it's just a couple of the microphones getting to the point where they need replacing.
Fun fact, they also, because they gave a couple of examples of the like panelist waifus and husbandos, and one of them was their AV team coordinator.
Yeah. Which did break one of their own rules, because one of the rules was no real people. But again, that was fun. What was the next thing?
We stayed in the room for bad fanfic rating.
Yes.
What it sounds like, panel classic, love when cons have it.
Yep. So this one moved through the fanfic a little bit or moved through the people reading a little faster than some we've seen do this. They basically had people who were interested come up, stand by the side of the stage.
And there was a massively long line, which is great. So I think everyone read for like maybe a couple paragraphs and then on to the next person.
Yep. And I, of course, volunteered for this one because, again, I have this voice. Yeah.
You made it actually sexy. Everyone else was making jokes.
Yep. No, I read it very seriously.
Yep.
You know, specifically, it was Twilight / Supernatural.
And you mixed up who Bella was, because I think there's also a Bella in Supernatural.
Yeah, there was a Bella in Supernatural. I was forgetting that... I forgot completely that it was a crossover. I was just picturing Bella from Season 3 of Supernatural. Which is kind of hilarious, because she dies right before Castiel turns up. Sorry, spoilers if you've not seen a 15-year-old season of Supernatural. Oh god, it might be older than that. Anyway. It's great. You've started showing me Gilmore Girls, which I've now seen. So I've now seen, like, baby Jared Padalecki.
Yeah. He's not really good at acting yet. It's fine. He's just really nice. I think that's why he was allowed to mess up as much as he did.
Yeah, and he got better.
He did.
People need time to develop better skills and crafts.
Yeah. Anyway, we didn't really stay in this long enough for me to really like rate it. It seemed like a good fanfic rating panel. It's late night. Everyone's going to have fun.
Yeah.
And everyone got prizes for participating, which is always great.
It's always nice. There was a lot of candy getting given away at this con.
We've gotten so much free stuff at this con.
Yeah.
So there might be some traffic up ahead.
Yeah. So
he'll check that. So the last thing we wanted to do was another Omegaverse dating game. I was very interested to see what that meant.
Yes, I was curious to know what the variation of that was.
But it started at 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
And we got to 11:30 at night, and it was supposed to go to 1 a.m. We knew pretty quickly we were not making 1 a.m. We wanted to probably stay at least for like maybe part of it.
We did, but again, I think did we? Oh yeah. So we had been considering doing it. It seemed like it would be.
It seemed interesting. It was interesting to see what Omegaverse meant. And I do kind of maybe if it had started on time, I think we would have stayed for it. It's just it was running late because the previous panel, and this was a plus 18 panel that wasn't in the plus 18 room. There were a couple of those throughout the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But they were all like late at night.
Yeah. So basically, the 18 plus stuff was almost exclusively in that one room, up until the point at which it Yeah,
do you know what's going on with the traffic?
roadworks, according to the
Okay,
thing.
we're at a complete stop.
Yeah. Jeez, never a good sign.
Okay, we might need to pause for a minute.
Okay. So yeah, we'll pause while we kind of figure this out, and then we will resume momentarily. It's okay, Emma. He's a good dog. And we're back. Sorry about that.
Again.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was mostly just an accident and a bunch of people messing with it. It was very weird.
Yeah, some people were doing some silly things, but anywho.
Yeah.
So yeah, Omegaverse.
Yes.
We were potentially interested in doing the Omegaverse dating panel. We ended up not going.
Yeah.
Because when we got out there, we found there was a honking big queue to get into the room for it.
Yeah. Knowing the size of that room, because we've been in panel room for a bunch, I think that it would have easily been contained. Like, it wasn't that big a crowd.
Yeah.
But it was a line. They were going to have to check IDs. We knew we weren't going to stay for the whole thing anyway. And it was, I think, about like 8 minutes to start when we got there, and people were queuing outside, which is atypical for most panels because there's a 30-minute break in between.
Yeah, I think it was just the previous thing that was in that room
which
was the
Danganronpa
trial panel. I think that had just kind of run over a bit, and then people wanted to stay and talk because they had at least one of the voice actors from Danganronpa on that panel. Weirdly, the same guy who was at PopCon India a few weeks ago. Can't judge. We were also there.
Yep. And we have been spoiled by Danganronpa panels. And in fairness, there were 2 Danganronpa panels, one of which I think had the voice actor, one of which it didn't. I think this was the one that didn't, but I'm not really entirely sure.
That was the one that did.
No, the one that did was earlier in the day. I really don't know, though.
Either way. But again, Danganronpa class trial panels are very popular, but I think it had definitely overrun its time slot.
Yeah.
Which meant there was a bit of a delay getting people ID checked and into the room.
Because this was a room they didn't normally have to ID check, but were for a late night panel. So they weren't letting anyone in, and people were running, and we're just like, by the time everyone's in and sitting down, because it is going to take them a few minutes to check everyone's ID, it's just kind of not worth it for us, especially since we already did a dating game panel.
Yeah.
Again, minor thing. It was pretty late anyway, so.
It was also at the point where, if we'd stayed for another half hour or so, we would have been costing an extra $15 in parking because we were there for nearly 15 hours.
It was fun to be in the, I think, fanfic rating panel with, because the person whose service dog we saw earlier that day was there, and there were a couple people who had been there since 9 a.m. like we have, who were just doing stuff all day. And I really admire that crowd, because Tekko particularly does seem to have a lot of panel loyalists, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. You don't see that as much at other conventions. There are people at Tekko who clearly just love going to panels, love hearing people, do weird game shows, talk about stuff they're passionate about, and all of that jazz. It's the wholesome aspects of fandom that I think get lost sometimes at some cons, that are kind of the reason we love going to cons generally. It's just that kind of thing makes us happy. It's okay, Emma.
So yeah, that was Saturday. We got back relatively late. We did sleep in until 8. Ooh, well, I did.
Yeah, I did not. I woke up at 6 because my body is a terrible, terrible thing.
And then we packed up the Airbnb and headed back for our last day.
Yep. And again, more
which is today, by the way.
Yeah. That was early. That was this morning.
Yep.
And again, a few more minor annoyances that kind of got to us a little bit more than they should have. But
I don't even remember what happened this morning.
We had mild issues with your dress.
Oh yeah. I think it's just mornings, particularly after stressful time periods, aren't stressed for me. But none of this is with the con. So.
Yeah. But yeah. So today we were wearing Edgar Allan Poe and his Raven.
And first thing we did was we tried to do the swap meet.
Yep.
Because Bridget and James were selling there, and we wanted to talk to them at least briefly, because it's kind of been a con where we kind of just been touch and go with them, which is absolutely fine. We've both just been busy. So we talked to them briefly. Again, no disability access line, so I just kind of stood off to the side and just kind of went in as people walked past. I was not the only person doing this, by the way. I think a lot of people who needed accessibility were just, because there was a main line and there was a spot off to the side, so I just stood there and entered with them. No one stopped me or seemed to care. So.
Yeah. Whereas I basically did actually go and stand in the official line, because our original plan was I would stand in the official line, and then I'd basically grab you as we went past to all intents and purposes, but you managed to make your way in without any problems.
Speed bought a bunch of plush, probably more than I should have.
We only spent $20.
Yeah.
You
got 4
4
plush.
Yeah.
Pretty good amount, including one dragon that is friends with my other dragon, so I'm excited about that.
Yep.
We talked to Bridget and James a bit, just kind of hung out, and then we both went off to our first panels.
Yep.
I think was the Secret Santa / White Elephant / whatever else it's called a panel.
Yep.
Which is interesting. So this is a really unique event. I will say you kind of have to go in knowing that you could just kind of get anything and be happy with it.
So the principle of this panel is fairly simple. You
Yep.
turn up with a gift, or gifts, plural.
Mm-hmm.
We usually bring, I say usually, we've done this panel once before, again, at Sangawa, where we bring effectively one gift each.
Yep.
You put them in the center of the room, and then you go around in a big circle. Somebody takes a gift without knowing what it is. They open it up, they show it to the room. People ooh, people ah. And then the next person does the same. However, they have the option to either take a gift from the center without knowing what it is, or they can steal a gift that's been chosen previously. And if your gift gets stolen, you then have the option to, again, either steal a gift or go and get something new from the center of the room.
And keep in mind, people generally just bring for this whatever random stuff is there. There were some like amazing things. I wound up getting like 12 things. My person was insane.
Yeah, you got a box with just a lot of random bits and gubbins in.
Yeah. We brought one of our plushies from round 1 because we go there a lot. That got stolen like instantly. Things can also only be stolen 3 times before they're dead.
Stolen twice.
Stolen twice, so like third pairs of hands that touch it, which means if you're a couple, it is kind of easy to manipulate it by stealing from the person who steals from you to lock an item.
Yep.
Which we did kind of sort of do at Sangawa Project, but it felt cheeky about it. So I purposely sat away from you this time, so I wasn't motivated to do that.
Yep.
Which didn't mean we didn't get a really cute, like, Franken Bulbasaur, like, all the starters in one Franken plush, but I'm an adult, I can buy that, so.
It was very cute, though.
Yeah, it was very cute. And the person who I think really wanted it got it back, so.
Yeah.
Which I think he also bought that and then took it and then opened it himself, then stole it from somebody, then got it back.
Cool.
Go that person. I don't know if you understand the game, but I'm glad you got the item you wanted. And so there was some complaining with this because I do think some people, like one person literally just got a bunch of stuff from their cupboard and brought it in. Like we tried to at least get things that people will like. I felt a bit cheeky because we got that plush that was really popular, and then we put in 2 Funko Pops that were just random ones we got from someplace. I want to emphasize most people were giving away things that they already had.
Yes.
Although some people got really into it. Like one person like themed a bag around a bunch of Stitch stuff that was super cute.
There are a bunch of cross-stitched dumpster fires.
Yep.
Because apparently that's a thing.
Yeah. But you do just kind of have to go into it knowing you might not get back anything. Like it's mostly an excuse to just offload stuff.
Yeah.
But it's very fun. Like I actually enjoy seeing what everyone brings to it. And there wasn't anything like I really, really, really wanted or anything.
No, it was just some fun, cute stuff.
Yep.
Now, and again, for the record, at the end they also do, basically say, yeah, if you guys want to like swap stuff with each other, go for it.
And the person who runs it brings extra presents, so like people who forget can also play. And then she just gives them away to people at the end. Sometimes people give stuff back to her to like gift again for the next. It's meant to just be silly fun.
It is. And again, it works. It's fun. It's silly. My only real criticism is we were running up against the 1 hour time slot.
We were, and then there were some people who were just kind of wandering into the room for the next thing that she invited to join at the end, which felt a bit cheeky. Like, it wasn't like it was bad. It was mostly just that I was kind of ready to be done at that point, and I didn't want to re-explain the game to a bunch of new people.
Yeah.
But it's a really unique event, and I will definitely do it again. And I now know that plush, unsurprisingly, is one of the most popular things.
Yep. We've got plush.
How's the most walk looking?
Questionable, but again, we can always sit in the car for a little bit and see if...
Well, if you want, we can go get ice cream and then see if it clears.
That's probably going to be the better option. We'll need to kind of get there and then put the sat-nav on, because I don't remember exactly how to get to the ice cream place, but we'll figure that out.
Riveting content.
Exactly. Hey, it's a podcast that we record in our car. Occasionally we're going to have to discuss directions. So, again, that was fun. given the number of people involved, I think it needed an hour and a half time slot. That's kind of my only real criticism.
Yeah, I think it needed an hour and a half time slot, but it's also hard to kind of predict how many people are going to show up to that.
Yeah, if only like half that number of people had turned up, it would have been absolutely fine.
Also, shout out to that one person who actually wrapped their gift instead of either just keeping it in its original packaging from Amazon or just putting it in a bag.
Yep.
Shout out to that person. You are committed.
Yeah,
the rest of us were lazy.
Yeah, most of us used gift bags.
Like, we used bags from our wedding.
Yes, I forgot. I did not realize those bags had Mr. and Mrs. written on the side until we got there. And I was like, whoops. Oh well. It was fine.
Besides, it's Dr. and Mr. anyway.
Exactly. This is what I keep telling people. That's what we put on the the sign at the sign museum when we got married. But yeah, so again, that was a very fun panel. My only real criticism of it is that we just ran up against the end of the time slot.
Yeah,
but I think people had fun. Mm-hmm. Some people definitely came away with some stuff that they neither want or need, but
And there's a lot of swapping around at the end. I stole an owl that was rainbow, that was cute, that was clearly worth only $2. There was technically a $20 spending limit. No one paid any attention to that whatsoever.
Yeah, like it's not as bad as at Sengawa when somebody just turned up with a crock pot.
It's just worth going to this just to see what random stuff people can find. So yeah, I think the goal next time will just be to bring plush because that's clearly popular. I'm proud that our gift was the gift that was first stolen twice.
Yeah. Oh, it was a big, cuddly teddy bear. Lots of love. There you go. I'm confident it's gone to a loving home.
Yeah. And next time we're just going to bring plush. Plush is popular. We like plush.
Yeah. As opposed to using it as an excuse to offload the Funko Pops we randomly
acquired. 6 different people brought Funko Pops. I was a little embarrassed about the Funko Pops.
That's the thing. I'm pretty sure if we give it like another 5 years, the entire the crust of the earth is going to be made up at least 30% of Funko Pops.
I know there's a couple enthusiastic collectors, but I think most people have the same situation we're in, where like you're just given as like a person who's kind of a sort of geeky human being Funko Pops randomly throughout your life that you don't want. And then you use this event to offload them, except everyone else did. I'm pretty sure at least 2 people there brought a Funko Pop and exchanged a Funko Pop with somebody else who also brought a Funko Pop.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Like, company's doing gangbusters.
Yeah, and no one really likes them.
Yeah, apart from, like, a few really avid collectors. And some people like them for a very specific thing they're a fan of.
Yeah.
Which is fair. It's just, if you get a random Funko Pop, the odds of it actually being from a franchise you like are a bit hazier. I mean, the one we got rid of was one from Rebel Moon, for God's sake.
Yeah. But next time, plush.
So, next time, plush.
Emma, stop kicking the mic. We're almost there, babe. And it looks like it might be stopping raining.
Don't jinx it. So.
Anime Family Feud.
Anime Family Feud.
So this was our last game show panel. It was interesting. It wasn't by any of the people who've done previous game show panels. This was just an individual who I could tell was really passionate about game shows and an excellent host.
Oh, he was phenomenal. Groundhog.
I'm going to see if I can find their name because I will shout out them if they have socials. I think they did have a social channel.
They did have a YouTube channel and I forgot what it's called.
I'll see if it's in the description.
Yep.
Well, you explain why I do that.
So, Family Feud, anybody who's seen it knows how this works. Panel of 100 people, or
survey of 100 people.
Survey of 100 people.
Anime themed.
Yep. Except this one was interesting because we've seen Family Feud done a bunch. Normally they just use software. Yeah, he was using hardware.
Not hardware.
Yeah.
Actual hardware, like actual physical stuff.
Yeah, like the kind of thing you go to Ace Hardware for.
Yes.
Is that a store?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I just named an American hardware store. I'm kind of concerned.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was mixing up 2 different ones. But yeah, like he basically had like 2 big boards that he'd made that like he had the answers on, so you could like pull them down and reveal them, or his glamorous assistant who I have no idea if they're like partners or friends or what, but he had a glamorous assistant who was dressed as somebody from Chainsaw Man, I think, the one with the pink. No, not Chainsaw Man. I don't know, some anime. So they could like reveal the answers, but basically the answers were printed on giant A3 sheets. He was just pulling out the back after each round. Like, that worked stunningly well. I was curious. When I saw him getting the boards, I was like, oh,
You're going to have to switch this out every round? How's that going to work?
But, like, that was a really elegant solution that worked really well.
They probably should have given him a table, because he did have to prop the, like, buzzers up on a 2x4 crate thing.
Yeah, on the, like, yeah, what he was using was the cart that he rolled them in on.
Yep.
It really was a, screw you and screw the horse you rode in on kind of situation. Which was kind of amusing, especially when the first person who I was up against got a little over enthusiastic and slapped the button a bit hard and knocked a bunch of stuff off.
Yeah. And the host was really good at rolling with it, and good at rolling with it, like, when people didn't know the answers. It was pitched at about the right level. Like, again, there were some categories that not a lot of people knew, but it was still fun. My favorite was just name something you can do in a dating sim that you can't do in real life.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised that some of the answers for that got depressing.
Yeah.
Like, I
think one was be confident.
One of them was be confident. I can't remember. Was talk to women actually on the board?
I think something like that was.
Yeah. But again, it
was amusing. It was fun. I really liked him as a host. He did a good job of, like, making people have fun, even, or encouraging them to, like, say funny stuff if they didn't know an actual answer.
Yeah.
Like, one person said, for how do you know when there's about to be how do you know the final boss is coming?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, he's there.
He's like, okay. I would have done well on that one, because the answer I would have given was the same one that ended up getting used for the steal on that one. Which was, how do you know the final boss is coming? You get given a suspiciously large amount of ammo.
Yep.
Like, we've all been in that first-person shooter and just walked into a room and it's like, why is this room absolutely loaded down with ammunition? Oh dear. I think I'm coming up to a boss fight. But yeah. But that was really, really well done. Like, again.
Like the guy a lot as a host, I would definitely go to more of his game show panels, and I'd really be interested to see what else he can create for game show panels.
Like, that was a really innovative solution. And again, I wonder if he's used software in the past, but kind of knew that this con...
Because it didn't have as big screens, so cons would need hardware like that.
Yeah.
It was very fun, though.
It was.
And we did wind up competing with the person we were hanging out with at Secret Santa.
Yes. Just because we were kind of sitting next to each other and all three of us volunteered, and it was just like, okay, you three. Because he basically... all the groups were brought up in trios, and he did basically say after that, or for rounds 2, 3, and 4, he basically said, who's here is in a group of 3? Because that does let you have that. Hilariously, one of the, at one point, I think it was group, the third set.
Yeah.
Yeah, had 2 cousins facing off against each other.
Neither of whom knew each other was there.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't know either of them were going to this event.
Yep. They just randomly bumped into each other and ended up facing off at Family Feud. That was great. That was the kind of random nonsense that you don't see enough.
Yep.
So I kind of love that.
Yeah, it was an actual family feud.
Yep.
Which is interesting, because the family feud is kind of a misnomer, because you're not actually fighting your family most of the time. It's kind of cool that that actually happened.
Well, you're normally feuding with other families.
Yes.
It's
It's a bit confusing.
Yeah, but the alliteration works. But yeah. So that was that. Then I think we were almost done at that point, because I think the next thing we went to was the State of the Union
We
panel.
stopped briefly to grab some more pictures with somebody who was really nice.
Yep.
And then we went to State of the Union, which we've seen before. It takes a couple different variations. Again, this is part of Tekko's transparency. They're pretty transparent about why they do what they did, and they have a huge... It's not even really a feedback panel, because they first give you a ton of information about the con and why they did what they did, and then you can ask them questions about it.
Yeah, it's interesting that apparently they normally really kind of break out the financial spreadsheets.
Which they did at Singawa Project.
Yes. They didn't this year, which, caused some joshing from the crowd about it. But partly that's because apparently they're going to release them publicly in about a month once they've ironed out some stuff.
And they will show them online and stuff like that, so everyone can see and look at their finances, which is really cool. Most cons do not let you look at their finances.
Yeah.
And particularly, they did that during a time period where they were going through a budget crisis, which is really brave of them to do.
Again, I
with
think
all the YouTube channels and people who get
that speed bump's new.
Yeah, especially with all the YouTube channels and
content creators who just
like ripping or shaming cons, sometimes fairly, a lot of times unfairly.
Yeah.
We try really hard with our criticism to be fair and critical, but also kind.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, we've kind of already talked about this panel because we keep referencing some of the stuff they talked about.
So we found out like why they didn't keep, they only kept one door open. We found out how fast the registration process was. We found out what numbers they are having. They're having a cruise. We're not going to talk about that because I don't care.
Yeah, no offense, Tekko. We're just not cruise people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you put a lot of work into making that a fun event for everybody involved, but we won't be there.
No.
I get seasick.
I don't like ships. Another chunk.
Yeah, I think it might be.
But it's really interesting to have this look behind the scenes. So we're at the park now. We'll probably finish up talking a little bit about that panel and do our top 5 con moments. Sorry, this is such a stop-start thing. This is also probably like 3.5 hours long. So
yeah, pretty close. But again, like the big cons, we do kind of talk for longer. So.
Yeah.
But it's currently not actively raining. I am going to bring the umbrella.
That is smart.
But,
all right, Emma, you need to chase off all the geese, okay? You gotta be ferocious dachshund and chase off all the geese.
You big brave puppy who just sneezed. It was adorable. Okay, so we will be back momentarily.
Bye.
Bye. And we are back, having gotten ice cream and given Emma her walk.
Yep, which she kind of got half of before deciding she was over it.
Yeah, it's kind of wet and rainy. So.
Yep. But you really need to go to the bathroom, so that was good. Yeah. And she also got a pup cone that had a little dog treat on top.
Really cute. Again, it's a nice little ice cream place.
It is.
But anyway, enough of the ice cream place, back to the con.
So yeah, and pro tip, if those talkback panels, I get that, like, they might not fit with your con schedule, but it's pretty good to go to just as a behind the scenes versus just like anonymously complaining in their unofficial Facebook group about stuff that, yeah,
you'd never guess what she was just reading.
To be clear, just so that people are aware, if you go to conventions, if you're talking about cons renting more space, that space costs money.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much everything in cons costs money. The chairs, as emphasized by going to the talkback panel, cost money.
$4 every time they want to move one of them.
Yep.
And that's each.
Yep. I touched a chair a bunch in that. I probably cost them, because they said anytime you touch a chair, it costs $4. So I touched a chair like 16 times just to, rack up the cost of it.
Just for comedy.
Yep. But, and I do mean just touch. Like, I physically poked the chair.
Yeah.
I did not move it to another building or actually cost the con any money.
Yeah. Basically what that means is anytime you want the con center staff to, like, move chairs or do anything like that, that's when it costs you $4 a chair. And again, like, that is all part of their contract.
Mm-hmm.
They will say, okay, we're going to need 200 chairs in, this room. And they go, okay, I'll be $800, please. Yep. I go, okay, thanks. So yeah, it's all that kind of stuff, which again, like, it's a lot of behind the scenes details you just don't know and don't think about.
Yeah. And this person was also comparing it to AnthroCon in terms of like paneling, which I find interesting because I would say, again, I don't even think these cons should be compared just because they're different experiences. And some people do go to both and hopefully have fun at both, but they're not the same thing. But I will say, like, I do think this con has more paneling just overall.
Mm-hmm.
And AnthroCon already has a lot of paneling.
Like, again, Tekko had 11, 12 panel rooms going, pretty constantly. Like, in terms of sheer quantity of panels, they had a lot of programming this year. Now, was all of that programming stuff that one specific person wanted to do? Probably not. But, you can't really... we have had situations before where we basically said, yeah, there wasn't a lot on the panel schedule that interested us personally, but there was a bunch of stuff. And that's fine. Like, it's okay to admit that it's not your exact personal bag.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else we found out else during the talkback panel.
Dude. A cop drove past us in the other direction, so I slowed down. Sue me. So anyway.
So is there anything else from the talkback panel that's worthy of note?
I feel like we've covered a lot of the high points. again, they are apparently going to be looking to expand into the Western next year. That's
Now, we did learn that they apparently had a partnership with the Pittsburgh Pirates game.
Which, like, at most 10 people took advantage of.
I think several of which were guests from Japan who went to the game. They had two games. I couldn't tell if it was the Friday game or the Saturday game. The Saturday game, they lost 10-4. The Friday game, they lost 10-1. They did have fireworks still, though, so that's cool.
I'm going to be honest, my knowledge of baseball is limited. I understand that's not considered a good performance.
Generally, no. I also think the games were particularly bad, but I don't really know. I'll probably watch the highlights just so I can laugh at it later.
That's fair.
So it's cool that they did that. They're expanding into the West End, similar to Anthrocon, or at least they're hoping to. They have broken even out of the budget snafu that we've talked to, or they have unofficially declared that.
Yeah, they basically said that they are making very good progress on paying back the the debts they incurred, and they are ahead of schedule on repayment of that.
To be clear again, we don't know what caused the debts. I honestly suspect first year after COVID, they overestimated their numbers. And the thing with cons is you do kind of have to guess your numbers right, because if you don't guess your numbers right, because most venues for conventions or larger events, since you make most of your money in ticket sales, will have you pay the venue after the convention's done with the ticket sales. But if you don't have enough in ticket sales, you have to take out loans. And that's not great. But I'm glad to hear they're moving in a positive direction.
Yeah, so am I. Because again, this is a good con purely from a, like, it feels really, really nice point of view.
Well, it's just like, it's nice to have an anime con, or just a con generally. I'm used to this with steampunk and with furries, but I don't see it as much with other genres as I really would like. Sci-fi probably also too, but there are very few sci-fi cons these days. It's not for us. It's just like, I don't want the main draw of cons to always be the celebrities. If you are a celebrity focused person, great. I hope you have fun with stuff like that. I really like cons like this, where this year they did get some big name celebrities, but there were also a ton of people who were there for reasons that had nothing to do with that, because they love the con. And what they love is doing stuff at the con and just being weird and being fun and being themselves around people in public. And it's just, that's awesome. And I wish more cons did that. And that's what this felt like. And it's been a while since I've been to, I think, an anime con that really, like, captured the bigness of that. Because a lot of the cons have, again, I'm not saying that going corporate is wrong or anything, but it's been a while since I've been to a big anime convention where I felt the focus was the fans and the fun and not the, like, celebrity lines in vendors hall.
Yeah. Because again, like, the vendors hall is fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we like buying stuff as much as the next person, but like, we freely admit we don't really get people for whom the primary draw of a con is the vendors hall.
Yep.
Like, I mean, sure, if that's your bag, fine, great, have fun. It's just, it's not us. And we don't really understand it, but there are plenty of people who wouldn't understand why we like going to game show panels as much as we do.
Plenty of people don't understand why we go to anime cons, even though we don't really like anime. And it's just because we love the people and camaraderie and just the pageantry of it all, and it's a lot of fun and creative. And this has that, and I think it's doing that well, and I hope it continues to do that well.
Yeah, I would absolutely say that.
So time to talk about stuff we didn't do.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff we did not do.
There's a lot.
I'll see what I can highlight. So again, there were concerts. We never go to concerts.
Yeah.
There was the ribbon game. I've explained that in other ones. We played in the same passive way we always play.
Which is, we acquired ribbons, we handed ours out, even though I forgot most of them at home this time, sorry.
It's fine. I keep telling you to put them in the car.
Yeah.
But some people actually play. I will say, because we did submit panels, the panel descriptions do have on the panel, you can check if you're giving out ribbons at the panel or not. There are some serious people who are into the ribbon game here. I think that,
based on what we heard, the winner had over 600.
I didn't even know the ribbon game had winners. That's how, little I knew. But 600 ribbons that's just insane. You would pretty much have to spend all your time collecting ribbons.
Which, again, if that's fun for you,
Yeah,
great.
go. Have fun with it. Some people get really into it. We prefer to do it passively.
Yeah,
and I think we probably got still about 20 just by...
Oh, we got quite a few, yeah. Just by going to various panels and doing various things. our goal is, we have a plan for all the ribbons we've been accruing from cons because we don't actually stick them on our badges.
Mm-hmm.
We have some ideas.
Yep.
Anybody who knows us can probably take a wild stab in the dark of what those ideas are, but
Mm-hmm. We've also told a bunch of people. They had a couple photo shoot areas, so some free photo shoots that people were just doing. We were accosted for a free photo shoot at one point, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. They also had like photo booths that were set up on the 4th floor, which were like cool places to take a photo that were like prop areas. So like one was like a space thing, and you could like sit on a moon with like a background. I think it was like mushrooms, a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, that one was very kind of fake-coded. Yeah, a bunch of those. They apparently want to bring even more next year, which one of the things we did learn from the feedback panel, the people who set that up drove up from Texas to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and they couldn't get Wednesday off, which means they basically drove through the night on Wednesday, going into Thursday, got in like 2.5 hours later than planned due to some really terrible traffic, and then basically had to be setting the things up as the con was opening around them. So, like,
hats off to them.
Yeah.
There was a big Pokemon section with the standard Pokemon tournaments. They also had a gym leader trainer challenge, which was kind of a combination of just playing people in a Pokemon video game, like standard Pokemon video game battle. At the same time as doing like physical challenges in that space. Like they had like a rock roll you could scale. I think it was something we had to like throw something into a bag. And it was designed for all ages. You could like pick which level you wanted to play at. The lowest level, you didn't even have to know anything about Pokemon to complete it, because the gym leaders were scaled to like how good you were. So if it was like a 5-year-old, they might be playing like suboptimally. Whereas like if you really wanted a challenge, they would actually play you optimally, and you could attempt each challenge as much as you wanted. So, which is very cute.
Again, that's really cool.
They had a standard paint and build. And again, there's a lot of stuff. I'm not going to mention everything.
Yep. Yeah, they definitely had a bunch of mini stuff going on this year because they had a bunch of like learn to play Warhammer and learn to play 40k and Age of Sigmar and that kind of stuff, which is cool. Love to see that. You know, as somebody who's deep in the Warhammer hole, it's always nice to welcome other people into that pit with me.
They had a standard video game library. There were some more claw and crane games. Those are becoming more popular. You'd have to pay money to play those, but people are bringing them in. They're expensive though, so we don't.
Yeah, it's like 5 tokens for $10.
Yeah, and like each play is 2 tokens or something, or a token.
Yeah, some of the things were 2 tokens a play, some of them were 1.
Yeah, which is a lot. There was speed running stuff that was happening this year. Some Disney Loricana, which is their card game. They may have had a board game library. I don't know if we ever officially settled that.
I was never sure. Like, we never found it.
Like, there was a table that had board games that sort of looked like they were a library. No one seemed to be utilizing it, though, and it was not... the sign just said board games. It did not say board game library. It was a bit confusing.
Yeah.
Although, in fairness, we did not investigate this very hard.
No.
There was a shrimp cocktail hour, which I almost wish we had gone to, with people dressed as shrimp. Do you love shrimp? We love shrimp. This is about dressing as a shrimp. And hanging out while dressed as a shrimp. Cool. They also had a duck or a silly goose meet and greet where you got goodie bags. I really want to go to one of these. They seem amazing.
Yep. Yeah, I can't remember what our clash with that one was.
I don't think there was a clash. I just think because the schedule's hard to operate. Some of the stuff that's more obviously meetups, I think my brain just filters out because this was technically a meetup.
Gotcha.
We typically don't go to meetups just because a lot of times they're for a specific fandom. Although I have had fun at meetups, so we should maybe go to more. And usual TGG tournaments, cosplay contests we talked about. I think there was also an idol dance group. They also had 2 stages that were just in the hallway of cons. One of which was, I think, more informational. One of which just had various like dance classes and musicals and stuff on it. So they were using every ounce of space they could.
They had a longsword class going on at a couple of points, which I walked past, and the footwork of everybody doing it sucked. But it was their first time, so I don't expect their footwork to be good.
There's an entire room called Chibi Tekko, which is just devoted to kids ages 12 and under. That has things like Bluey Bingo or how to make a foam sword.
Also, for the record, I am joking when I comment that people's footwork sucked. Like, I am being facetious. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
If you had fun in that panel, I do not mean to criticize. I'm just a dick.
They had an Obey Me, Shall We Date photo meetup, which I'm only highlighting because Obey Me is this weird online phone game. It's very obscure. I love whoever set this up. They had Tekko Today Live, which I think was a live podcast on the hall stage where they just talked to various con guests.
That's cool.
Yeah. We saw a bit of it because we just walked past it. They also, for the formal ball, they did have dance lessons all weekend that were basically just going on.
They did. Which, again, like, one of these days we're going to learn how to dance properly. It's on our list.
Yeah. I think we'll probably just have to go to a local studio, though, just because the problem is we live in the country, so everything's far away. It's hard to motivate yourself to go to dance class an hour away. It's hard to motivate yourself to go to dance class generally. Like, it's one of those things where, because I used to do dance when I was in college extremely briefly, like not at the levels of somebody like pop culture choreography. Just, I did social salsa for a bit. I'm sure I've already forgotten it all. But like, going to dance class was the hardest thing ever. When I was there, I was having a blast. But getting yourself to go is the hardest thing ever. It's kind of like going to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
They had a Zen zone, which is kind of like a quiet space.
I took some feedback about that at the...
of adding more squishable stuff.
Yeah. Hopefully next year we'll have more squish.
Yeah. Justin, by the way, was very grateful for that as a recommendation because that was easy, as well as your recommendation to just have that other door staffed. It's like, yay, that's easy.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate the fact that they listen to, this is a thing that will make our quality of life better, and they will say, that we can do, and they will do it.
Yeah.
Like, if it's something that's reasonable for them to do, they'll do it. Like, again, I get the implication. I think in past years they decided to only have the one entrance just from a security staff point of view, whereas the other attitude is, okay, we have more security people on staff now. We should be able to justify opening both doors. Great. Like that makes complete sense to me. They
had a Con Going 101 panel, which is why they rejected our Con Going 101 panel. Valid.
Fair.
And dance competition. Danganronpa trials we mentioned. Just a bunch of stuff. I feel like they had a standard RPG room. They had an interactive LARP that went all weekend that you could just enter, that you could just be any character from anime, and they would give you a character sheet. You would just play that character, and you could just come and go from the LARP room. There was just a room devoted to this all weekend.
Again, whoever was running that, you're crazy. Yeah. I love you. You're crazy.
And AMV rooms, pretty much standard stuff.
Yep.
And there's a lot of stuff. I'm sure I'm forgetting at least one like super amazing thing that is probably someone's favorite thing. So if I am sorry, but this episode is 3.5 hours long.
Various video rooms showing stuff.
Sword demos.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's kind of the main thrust of what was there.
Yes.
So, do we want to move on to favorite con moments?
Yes.
Okay, this is going to be a tricky one.
Yeah, a lot of these moments were social, and it's also a weekend where our brain space was a bit more split than we wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
I think I'm comfortable going first.
Okay.
So, in all honesty, the reaction of the host of Defend My Husbando when your name got pulled, like, just the sheer fact that she was clearly very happy that you were going to be competing again, and then slightly later that I was going to be competing again, just, it goes to show how much she enjoyed us the last time we did it, and it was just really nice to know that we were remembered and appreciated for our contribution to that panel.
I will choose PowerPoint karaoke. Specifically the moments where those two people who just didn't meet each other kissed in like a really awkward but very consensual and very friendly and not romantic way.
Yeah.
It was just great. And just having a room where like that type of magic can happen on a Thursday night is awesome. And I was sad I got to miss that at AnthroCon. I'm glad I could catch it here.
Yeah. And again, this is always the problem with a con like this. Like, there's a lot of small moments that just really got. Okay, yeah, it's. There goes the couple with the sensitive husband.
That was going to be mine if you weren't going to take it.
Yeah, like, it was. We forget how memorable we are sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, again, we are weird. Like, I am a British man living in Ohio, like...
Look, I want to be a famous eccentric. I don't really want to be famous. I mostly just want to be an eccentric. Like, that's my goal in life. And I would be, like, a rich eccentric, except you can't become rich without being incredibly unethical. So I just have to be eccentric. And it's hard to be eccentric without being rich. So, I'm doing my best. I feel like I've achieved it.
Yeah, I think you probably have, honey, yes.
Like, being a professor is one of the few careers where you can still be an eccentric.
Yeah, that's very true.
Like, out of the performing arts, it's pretty much all you have. I mean, it's my turn.
Yep.
There's so many good little moments. I will take a similar one if you took that one. I will be the people who are just like, hey, it's the academia, British cult people.
Again, that mildly feels like cheating, but I'll let you have it.
I'll take a different one. I'll combine those two moments since they were very similar. I will honestly take a similar one to the waifu moment, though, if I'm going to let it piggyback off that one. I will take talking to that person before the cultural panel we were in with the Sakai, or Sisu, I'm sorry, Japanese names are hard. That was really nice, just kind of sitting and talking to people before that panel.
It was. And yeah. Honestly, just the moment in the actually panel where they were just like, all right, you clearly know this, come on.
Yeah, he was a Doctor Who asked a Doctor Who question, and you're clearly British. I will take the moment in the dating game panel where the green flag question came up. There are a lot of great little moments in this con that I'm also thinking of. I really love the talkback panel. I really love Secret Santa. I really love that person who came up to us after the karaoke panel and talked to us a bunch that weekend and asked if we were doing any paneling. Which, by the way, Tekko, you should let us do paneling.
For the record, we're
not
actually
bitter.
offended
No,
that
we're
you
really
turned up
not.
panels
We
now,
turned in panels late. One of them was clearly something that was already on the schedule anyway. I think we're fine.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, would it have been fun to do a Taskmaster-based panel at Tekko? Absolutely. Yeah. Will we do it at some other con? Probably.
Probably, although I think Tekko would be a great con for it.
I think it really would. So, I think that's pretty much everything. So now we ask the question that we always ask. Would we go back? And we want to clarify, as we always do, that would we go back doesn't necessarily reflect on the quality of the con.
Yep.
Insofar as a good con that's 6 hours away from us, we're probably not going to go back to. Whereas, an average, not too great, but could have been worse con that's in Columbus and is less than an hour drive, yeah, we'll probably go back just because, yeah. So, there are a lot of factors that go into this decision.
And yeah, we originally started this as a 1 through 10 ranking system, and then we realized that seemed mean and we didn't want to do that, so this is what we do now.
This is just better.
Yeah.
So would we go back?
I mean, honestly, even if it was 6 hours away, I would go back.
Yeah. This was a really good con.
Yeah.
Again, I feel bad that we weren't necessarily in the headspace for it, but...
We still had great moments anyway, and it ran pretty smoothly.
So yeah, I think overall, we'd go back.
We'd go back. So yeah.
That was Tekko 2025. Depending on whether or not we're in the country this time next year, hopefully, maybe go to Tekko 2026.
Yeah.
See what's changed.
We hope that you guys continue to grow in the smart way that you've been doing. We hope that you'll continue the Sengawa project, because I really did like that one.
Yeah, it was weird and quirky and small and fun, and a lot of stuff we like about Tekko. Yeah.
So yeah, we hope to see you guys soon. Thanks for an awesome Pittsburgh Con. We're in theory doing TrotCon next weekend, which is a My Little Pony convention in Columbus that does not have a schedule up yet.
Yep. And it's less than a week away.
Yeah.
We kind of hate it when cons do this.
Yeah.
So, and then the week after will be Gen Con.
Gen Con.
God help us all.
So yeah, hopefully we can survive Gen Con.
So thank you very much for listening. Again, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, if you want to lob a proverbial brick at our heads, concouplepodcast@gmail.com will get through to us.
Yep, and if you have any socials if you listen to this and have any socials you would like to put on the show notes, if you were mentioned, please email them to us and we will add them to the show notes.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening, and we hope to see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.